At 30,000 feet, Vanessa Whitmore, billionaire CEO, Ice Queen of Manhattan, woke to find herself curled against a stranger's shoulder while his arm, purple with bruises, still shielded her from the armrest. He'd spent hours protecting her through turbulence she'd slept through completely. She didn't know his name, didn't know he was barely scraping by, or that his daughter was dying, or that this single moment would destroy everything she'd built. But if you want to know how a woman who controlled empires ended up choosing a broken man and his sick child over her billion-dollar throne, stay with me until the end. Drop a like, comment your city so I can see how far this story travels, and let me show you what happened when power met something it couldn't buy. The rain hit the terminal windows like gravel. Vanessa Whitmore stood at gate 47, staring through her reflection at the storm tearing across Seattle's night sky. Behind her, delayed passengers complained into phones, their voices blending into white noise she'd stopped hearing hours ago. She pressed 2 fingers against her temple, willing away the headache that had lived behind her eyes for 3 weeks straight. Her phone buzzed. Again. Board meeting moved to 6 a.m. Investors pulling out. Call me your mother called again. She silenced it without reading the rest. The screen went dark, and for half a second, she saw herself clearly in the black glass. 30 years old, wearing a coat that cost more than most people's monthly rent, looking exactly like what she was, exhausted. The flight attendant's voice crackled through the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin boarding Flight 287 to New York shortly. We apologize for the weather delay. Vanessa picked up her carry-on. First class. Window seat. 6 hours of silence before she had to step back into the machine that had been grinding her down since her father's funeral. The funeral she'd left early because the Tokyo office couldn't handle a contract negotiation without her. The funeral where she'd stood dry-eyed beside his casket while her mother sobbed because Vanessa Whitmore didn't cry. Not in public, not anywhere someone might see. She boarded first, settled into 2A, and immediately pulled out her laptop. The screen's glow painted her face blue in the dimmed cabin. She didn't notice the man who took 2B. Not at first. He moved quietly, efficiently, sliding a worn backpack under the seat ahead with the practiced motion of someone who flew budget airlines where overhead space was a battlefield. Vanessa's eyes flicked up for half a second. Jeans, canvas jacket, tired face, then back to her screen. Nobody worth noticing. The plane filled slowly. A baby cried somewhere in coach. The storm rattled the windows. Vanessa typed faster, answering emails that would spawn 3 more each, fighting a war that never ended because winning just meant tomorrow's battle started earlier. She felt rather than saw the man beside her pull out his phone. "Hey, sweetheart." His voice was quiet, careful not to disturb anyone. Vanessa's fingers paused on the keyboard. I know. I'm sorry it's so late." A soft laugh. "Yeah, Daddy's on the plane now. I'll be home when you wake up." Vanessa told herself she wasn't listening, told herself other people's lives were none of her business. She'd built an empire on the principle that sentiment was weakness, that emotional distance was survival. But something in his voice made her hands still completely. "Emma, baby, you have to listen to Mrs. Chen, okay? Take your medicine, all of it, even the yucky one." Pause. "I know it tastes bad. I know. But it helps your heart stay strong, remember?" Vanessa's chest tightened inexplicably. "Love you more than all the stars, monkey. Be good. Daddy will bring you pancakes tomorrow." The call ended. The man sat back, and Vanessa saw his reflection in her dark laptop screen, eyes closed, jaw tight, looking like someone barely holding something together. She looked away quickly. Not her problem, not her business. The plane began to taxi. Vanessa opened a new email draft, then closed it, opened her quarterly reports, stared at numbers that had stopped meaning anything except bigger, more, faster. Her father's voice echoed in her skull. "You're not built for softness, Vanessa. You're built for this." This, meaning the boardrooms, the hostile takeovers, the brutal efficiency that had tripled their company's value in 5 years and left her hollow as a drum. The engines roared. The plane lifted, and Seattle disappeared beneath clouds the color of bruises. Vanessa worked for another hour, then 2. Her eyes burned. The cabin lights dimmed. Around her, passengers settled into sleep. But sleep was something Vanessa had given up on. Sleep meant dreams, and dreams meant seeing her father's disappointed face when she'd chosen profit margins over his final wishes for the company. She reached for her coffee, found it empty, signaled the flight attendant who brought her another with a practiced smile that didn't reach her eyes. Vanessa had that same smile. She wore it like armor. Somewhere over Montana, her vision started to blur. She blinked hard. The spreadsheet on her screen turned to soup. Her head felt full of cotton and broken glass. Just need to finish this section, just this one thing. Her fingers slipped on the keys. Then I can rest, but there was always one more thing. Always another fire to put out, another crisis, another person demanding pieces of her until nothing remained except the machine that solved problems and signed checks and made shareholders rich. The laptop screen dimmed to sleep mode. Vanessa meant to wake it. Instead, her eyes closed. Just for a second, she told herself. Just 1 second of... She woke to turbulence and pain. Not her pain. The plane bucked violently, jerking her consciousness back like a hook in her chest. Vanessa's eyes flew open, disoriented, her mind scrambling to remember where she was. The cabin lights flickered. Someone screamed in the back. The seatbelt sign blazed red, and her head was on someone's shoulder. Vanessa jerked upright, mortified, her cheek burning where it had been pressed against rough canvas. "I'm sorry, I didn't—" "It's fine." The man from 2B didn't look at her. His right arm was braced against her armrest, his left hand gripping the seat ahead, his entire body angled slightly toward her like a wall. The plane dropped. Vanessa's stomach lurched into her throat. Her laptop slid off her lap. The man's hand shot out, catching it before it hit the floor, then calmly setting it in the seat pocket while the aircraft shook like it might come apart at the rivets. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened." The flight attendant's voice was admirably steady. "We're experiencing some rough air." Rough air, like calling a hurricane a breeze. The plane pitched right. Vanessa's shoulders slammed into the window. Before she could compensate, the man's arm was there, braced between her and the wall, absorbing the impact she would have taken full force against her skull. "Sorry," he muttered. "You just—" Vanessa's breath caught. "You don't have to—" Another drop. Her seatbelt cut into her hips. The overhead bins rattled ominously. The man didn't move his arm. Vanessa looked at him properly for the first time. Really looked. He was older than she'd thought. Early 30s maybe, with the kind of face that had probably been boyish once but had been worn down by something heavy. Dark hair that needed cutting, a jaw that looked like it spent a lot of time clenched, circles under his eyes that matched hers. And his arm, the one still braced against her seat, was already bruising, purple spreading across his forearm where it had caught her weight, then the armrest, then her weight again through 20 minutes of turbulence she'd slept through like the dead. "Your arm," Vanessa said. "It's fine." "It's not. You're hurt." "I've had worse." He said it flatly, without self-pity, the way someone might comment on weather. The turbulence eased slightly. The plane stopped trying to shake itself apart. Vanessa's heart rate began to remember what normal felt like. She looked at his arm again. Looked at the careful way he'd positioned himself. How he'd caught her laptop without even thinking about it. How he'd spent however long keeping her from being thrown around the cabin while she'd been dead to the world. A stranger. He'd protected a stranger. "Why did you do that?" The question came out sharper than she meant. He finally looked at her. His eyes were gray or maybe green, hard to tell in the dim cabin light. Tired eyes, but steady. "You were asleep," he said simply. "What was I supposed to do? Let you get hurt?" Like it was obvious, like there was no other possible choice. Vanessa had spent 10 years in boardrooms where people would step over their dying mothers for a percentage point, where loyalty was a transaction and kindness was a weakness someone would exploit before breakfast. She didn't know what to do with this. "Thank you," she managed. He nodded once and settled back in his seat, cradling his bruised arm slightly. The plane leveled out. The seatbelt sign dinged off. Around them, passengers began to stir, checking phones, visiting bathrooms, pretending the last 30 minutes hadn't been terrifying. Vanessa should have gone back to work, should have opened her laptop and drowned herself in quarterly projections until her brain stopped replaying the feeling of waking up safe because a stranger had decided she was worth protecting. Instead, she heard herself say, "I'm Vanessa." Noah. He didn't offer his last name. Your daughter, Vanessa said, then stopped, realizing how creepy that sounded. I'm sorry, I overheard your call earlier. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. It's a plane, not much privacy. He said it without accusation. She's sick? Noah's jaw worked. For a long moment, Vanessa thought he wouldn't answer. Then, heart condition. She needs surgery. 2 sentences that held an ocean of fear. I'm sorry, Vanessa said, and meant it, which was strange because she'd stopped meaning most of what came out of her mouth years ago. Noah shrugged. She's strong, stronger than me. How old? 6, just turned. Vanessa tried to imagine loving something that much. Tried to remember the last time she'd loved anything beyond the abstract concept of success. Came up empty. The surgery's expensive? She kept her voice neutral, but she'd already done the math. The worn jacket, the budget flight, the multiple jobs he'd probably mentioned in that phone call, canvas backpack instead of leather, hands that looked like they did real work. Noah's expression closed. We'll manage. Translation, none of your business. Fair enough? Vanessa knew how to read a boundary. She'd built walls that would make his look like garden fences. She should have stopped talking, should have retreated into her laptop and her emails and the comfortable fortress of not caring about people she'd never see again. But something in her chest had cracked open during those minutes of turbulence, and she couldn't seem to seal it shut again. What do you do? She asked. For work. Noah looked at her like he was trying to figure out if this was real conversation or some kind of test. Right now, I drive for a delivery service during the day, do IT contract work at night, pick up handyman jobs on weekends. 3 jobs. To pay for a surgery that probably cost more than he'd make in a year. IT work, Vanessa said. You're good with systems? Used to be better. Something bitter crossed his face. Used to do real work. Design, development. But that was before. Before what? He looked at her for a long moment. Seemed to decide she was actually asking, not just filling silence. Before the company I worked for stole my designs, filed patents under their own name, and fired me when I tried to fight it. Before my wife decided being married to a broke engineer with a sick kid wasn't the life she signed up for. He said it matter-of-factly, like reading a grocery list. Before I learned that talent doesn't mean much when the other guy has better lawyers. Vanessa felt something cold settle in her stomach. She knew that story. She'd probably been on the other side of it, in different forms. How many brilliant people had her company crushed because crushing was more efficient than sharing? That's... She stopped. Wrong felt inadequate. Illegal was probably true, but clearly hadn't mattered. I'm sorry was something people said when they didn't know what else to offer. It happens. Noah looked away. You learn who you can trust. Turns out that's a pretty short list. The plane hummed through dark sky. The cabin lights flickered once, twice. Vanessa's phone buzzed insistently in her pocket. She ignored it. What about you? Noah asked, clearly trying to move the conversation away from himself. What do you do? Vanessa hesitated. Telling people what she did usually changed things. Suddenly, they wanted something, or they got weird, or they started performing some version of themselves they thought she'd prefer. But Noah was looking at her like she was just a person, just someone he'd happened to sit next to. When was the last time anyone had looked at her that way? I run a tech company, she said. Left out the $1 billion part. Left out the I'm probably on the cover of Forbes in the airport bookstore part. Noah nodded. That why you're working at... He checked his watch. 1 a.m. on a delayed flight. Something like that. Must be important. It's always important. Vanessa heard the exhaustion in her own voice. If it's not important, it's urgent. If it's not urgent, it's critical. There's always something. Sounds familiar? Noah's mouth quirked. Not quite a smile. Different scale, same treadmill. The flight attendant came by with drinks. Vanessa ordered coffee out of habit, then watched Noah shake his head and ask for water instead. Saving money. Even on a $2 soda. Her coffee came. She wrapped her hands around the paper cup, letting the heat ground her. Can I ask you something? Noah said. Sure. Why do you do it? The work, I mean. If it's eating you alive? He paused. And before you say I'm wrong, you've got the same look my mirror shows me, like you're running on fumes and spite. Vanessa laughed. Actual laughter, sharp and surprised. Fumes and spite. That's accurate. So why? She thought about lying, thought about the practiced answers she gave in interviews, passion for innovation, commitment to excellence, building something that matters. Instead, she told the truth, because I don't know how to stop, because my father spent his whole life building this company, and I'm his only child, and stopping feels like admitting he was wrong to trust me with it. She stared into her coffee. Because if I stop, I have to think about everything I gave up to keep going, and I don't think I can survive looking at that math. Noah was quiet for a long moment. My daughter asks me sometimes why I work so much, he finally said. I tell her it's so I can take care of her, so she can have the surgery, have a future. But sometimes I wonder if I'm just scared. Of what? Of slowing down enough to feel how tired I am. Of admitting that I can't actually do this alone, no matter how hard I try. He looked at his bruised arm. Of failing her. Vanessa felt something crack wider in her chest. They sat in silence while the plane carried them toward New York. Around them, people slept or watched movies, or did whatever people did when they weren't having the kind of conversation that stripped you down to bare wire. Your father, Noah said eventually. He's still running things? He died 3 weeks ago. I'm sorry. Everyone's sorry. Vanessa didn't mean to sound bitter. Sorry he's gone. Sorry I have to deal with it. Sorry the company's in chaos. Nobody's sorry enough to actually help, though. Just sorry in that way where they say the words and then immediately ask when I'll have the quarterly reports done. Noah nodded slowly. People are good at empty words. The best. Another silence. This one felt different. Less like strangers filling space, more like two people who recognized each other's specific kind of drowning. The seatbelt sign came on. The pilot's voice crackled through the speakers with an update Vanessa didn't process. They were descending. New York sprawling below them in a grid of lights that looked nothing like home, even though she'd lived there for 8 years. Look, Noah said. He pulled a business card from his wallet. Except it wasn't really a business card, just a piece of paper with a phone number written in neat handwriting. If you ever need IT work, emergency systems stuff, I know you probably have a whole department, but... He shrugged. You helped me tonight. I didn't do anything. You listened. You didn't have to. He held out the number. Most people wouldn't have. Vanessa took it. Their fingers brushed, and she felt the calluses on his palm, the kind you got from real work, not keyboards and conference calls. Noah, she said. Your last name? Bennett. Noah Bennett. She filed it away. Told herself she'd probably throw the number out. Told herself this was just a moment, one of those random connections that happened at 30,000 feet and dissolved the moment you hit ground. But she put the number in her pocket instead of the seat pocket. The plane touched down smoothly. New York swallowed them in rain and runway lights. People stood, grabbed bags, became strangers again in the shuffle toward the exit. Vanessa gathered her things slowly. Her laptop felt heavier than it should. Her phone showed 47 new messages. Noah was already standing, backpack slung over his shoulder. He looked like he was about to say something, then didn't. Thank you, Vanessa said. For earlier, for... She gestured vaguely at everything. The conversation, the protection, the unexpected honesty. Take care of yourself, Noah said. Then, like it mattered, actually take care. Not just work yourself to death quieter. He walked away before she could respond. Disappeared into the crowd of deplaning passengers. Vanessa watched him go. This stranger who'd somehow seen straight through her expensive coat to the exhausted person underneath. Her phone rang. Her assistant, probably. Or her COO. Or one of the board members who'd been circling like sharks since her father's death, waiting for her to show weakness. She answered, "Let the machine swallow her again." But as the car service drove her through rain-slicked Manhattan streets toward her empty penthouse, Vanessa's hand kept going to her pocket, to the piece of paper with a stranger's phone number, to the first genuine human connection she'd felt in longer than she could remember. The weekend disappeared into meetings. Vanessa spent Saturday in the office, Sunday in a video conference with Tokyo, Monday in back-to-back calls that left her voice hoarse and her head pounding. She didn't think about Noah Bennett. Didn't wonder if his daughter's surgery was scheduled, if he was sleeping, if he'd meant what he said about people being good at empty words. She definitely didn't pull out that piece of paper 3 separate times and then put it back in her desk drawer without calling. Tuesday afternoon, the server crashed. Vanessa was in a meeting with investors when her CTO burst in, looking like someone had shot his dog. We're down, everything, the main system, the backups, the redundancies. Marcus was talking too fast, words tripping over each other. Nothing's responding. We've been trying for 2 hours. 2 hours? Vanessa stood. Around the conference table, investors murmured. This was exactly the kind of instability they'd been worried about since her father died. Why wasn't I told immediately? We thought we could fix it. We thought, show me. The server room was chaos. Her entire tech team crowded around monitors, arguing in that particular way. Engineers argued when nobody actually knew what was wrong. Vanessa recognized panic disguised as technical debate. Talk to me, she said. Marcus pulled up screens covered in red error messages. It started with what looked like a routine maintenance issue, but when we tried the standard fixes, everything cascaded. Now we can't even access the core systems. If we can't get this running in the next 3 hours, we're going to miss every deadline we have. The Parker contract alone is worth— I know what it's worth. Vanessa scanned the error logs. They made no sense. She'd done coding once, years ago, before she'd risen high enough that other people did the actual work. Have you tried? We've tried everything. Marcus looked like he might throw up. Everything that should work isn't working. It's like the system's just refusing. Vanessa's mind raced. They could call in outside contractors, except every minute of downtime was costing them tens of thousands of dollars, and bringing in strangers meant security risks, potential data breaches, admitting weakness to competitors. Her hand went to her pocket before she'd decided to move. The piece of paper with Noah's number was in her office, 3 floors up. Keep trying, she told Marcus. I'll be right back. She took the stairs because waiting for the elevator felt impossible. Found the paper in her desk drawer where she'd hidden it like evidence of something. Stared at it for 10 full seconds, while her company bled money and her team panicked and every rational business instinct screamed that calling a stranger from a plane was insane. Vanessa dialed. It rang 3 times. She was already preparing her voicemail message when he picked up. Hello? Noah sounded distracted. She heard traffic in the background, car horns, the chaos of New York streets. Noah, this is Vanessa. From the flight. I don't know if you remember. I remember. Is everything okay? Right. Because normal people didn't call strangers unless something was wrong. Vanessa had forgotten how normal people worked. I need help. I know this is completely inappropriate, and you're probably in the middle of something, but our entire server system just crashed and my team can't fix it, and you said you did IT work. She stopped, took a breath. I'm desperate. Silence. Then, where are you? She gave him the address. Expected him to say he'd come tomorrow, or after his shift, or maybe not at all because this was a huge ask from someone he'd met exactly once. I'm 20 minutes away, Noah said. I'll be there as soon as I can. The line went dead. Vanessa stood in her office, phone in hand, and realized she'd just gambled her company's survival on a man she didn't know, based on nothing but gut instinct and a conversation at 30,000 feet. Her father would have been furious. She went back to the server room. Noah arrived in 19 minutes. Vanessa was watching Marcus attempt the same failed fix for the 4th time when security called. Ms. Whitmore, there's a Noah Bennett here to see you. Send him up. The elevator dinged. Noah stepped out wearing the same canvas jacket, jeans with paint stains on them, work boots that had seen better years. He looked completely wrong in her sleek office building with its glass walls and abstract art and employees in designer suits. He also looked completely unfazed. Where's the problem? He asked. Vanessa led him to the server room. Her team parted silently, giving him space. Marcus started to protest. Who is this? We can't just let random people access our— He's with me, Vanessa said. Show him what's happening. Marcus looked like he wanted to argue. Then he looked at the red screens and the clock ticking toward disaster and made the smart choice. Noah listened to Marcus's explanation without interrupting, asked 3 questions that made Marcus blink. Then he sat down at the terminal, cracked his knuckles once, and started typing. The room went quiet. Vanessa watched Noah work. His hands moved across the keyboard with the fluid certainty of someone who'd done this 10,000 times. He pulled up screens she didn't recognize, ran commands that made Marcus lean forward, muttering, "What is he?" "Your security patch from last month," Noah said, not looking up. "It's fighting with your legacy integration protocols. Everything you're seeing? It's not a crash, it's a conflict. The system's trying to resolve contradictory instructions and basically arguing with itself." Marcus pulled up his own screen, typed fast, stopped. "That's exactly what it is. How did you—" Noah was already moving, fingers flying. "I'm going to isolate the conflicting processes, roll back the patch implementation, then rebuild the integration from scratch. It'll take about 40 minutes. Don't touch anything I'm doing." He said it with such flat authority that Marcus, who had 2 PhDs and an ego the size of Connecticut, just nodded and stepped back. Vanessa found herself holding her breath. Noah worked in complete silence. Around him, her team watched like students observing a master. He didn't waste a single motion, didn't hesitate, just steadily, methodically untangled a problem that had defeated 8 people for 3 hours. 37 minutes later, the red screen started turning green. There. Noah hit a final key with the satisfaction of someone closing a difficult book. "Your systems are back up. I've implemented a temporary bridge between the patch and the legacy code. You'll need to do a proper integration eventually, but this will hold for now." Marcus was staring at his monitors like they'd performed a miracle. This works. This completely works." Noah stood, rolling his shoulders. "You might want to audit whoever implemented that security patch. They didn't test it against your full system architecture." "I implemented the patch," Marcus said quietly. "Then you might want to be more careful next time." Noah said it without judgment, just fact. The room was absolutely silent. Vanessa cleared her throat. "Everyone back to work, make sure all systems are stable. Marcus, run full diagnostics." She looked at Noah. "Can I speak with you?" They walked to her office. Noah paused in the doorway, taking in the floor-to-ceiling windows, the art that cost more than his car probably had. The view of Manhattan spread out like a kingdom. "Nice place," he said neutrally. "Sit, please." Vanessa closed the door. "What you just did, it's fine. I told you to call if you needed IT help. In 40 minutes, you solved something my entire team couldn't fix in 3 hours." Vanessa sat across from him. "That's not fine. That's exceptional. Let me pay you." Noah shook his head. "I didn't do it for money." "Then why did you do it?" He looked at her for a long moment. "Because you called. Because you actually needed help. And because—" He stopped. Started again. "Most people wouldn't have called someone like me. They'd have called some expensive contractor, paid 10 times what it was worth, gotten it fixed in 3 days. You took a chance." "I was desperate." "Maybe, but you still called." Noah stood. "I need to get back to work, my actual work. I've got deliveries to make." Vanessa stood too. Her mind was racing, fitting pieces together. "What if I offered you a job?" "I have 3 jobs." "What if I offered you one job that paid what you're making from all 3, plus benefits, plus whatever you need for your daughter's surgery?" Noah went very still. "Why would you do that?" "Because I just watched you solve in 40 minutes what my 6-figure employees couldn't solve at all. Because talent like yours is rare. Because—" She stopped, took a breath. "Because my father always said the smartest thing a CEO can do is hire people smarter than themselves. And I think you might be smarter than everyone in this building. You don't know anything about me. I know you protected a stranger during Turbulence. I know you worked 3 jobs to save your daughter. I know you just fixed my company's biggest crisis in months and didn't ask for anything in return." Vanessa met his eyes. "I know you're exactly the kind of person I want on my team." Noah's jaw worked. She could see him thinking, calculating, wanting to say yes but not trusting it. "I can't," he finally said. "I appreciate it, I do. But I learned what happens when I trust corporations. When I let myself think they actually care about anything except profit. I'm not offering you a corporation. I'm offering you a job. With me. Directly." Vanessa pulled out a business card, her actual card this time, with her direct line. "Think about it. Take your time. But Noah, I don't make offers I don't mean. He took the card slowly, studied it like it might bite. "I have to go," he said. "Okay." He made it to the door before turning back. "Your team, they're good at what they do. They just got stuck in a loop. Make sure they know they're not being replaced. Even now, thinking about other people, making sure she didn't hurt anyone in her gratitude." "I will," Vanessa said. She watched him leave, watched him disappear into the elevator, back to his delivery job and his sick daughter and his life that was nothing like hers, except for one thing. They were both survivors, doing whatever it took to keep moving forward. Her phone rang. The investors, wanting an update. Vanessa answered, gave them the good news. Listened to their relief, their praise, their subtle reminders that stability was crucial going forward. When she hung up, she walked to the window, looked out at the city that had made her and broken her in equal measure. Somewhere down there, Noah was delivering packages, going home to a little girl who needed him, living a life that probably looked small from up here, but was filled with more real love than Vanessa had felt in years. She thought about the offer she'd made, thought about the risk of bringing someone into her world who might actually see her as human. Then she thought about her father's voice. "You're not built for softness, Vanessa." Maybe he was right, or maybe she'd just never had a good enough reason to find out if he was wrong. Noah didn't call. 3 days passed. Then a week. Vanessa told herself it didn't matter, that she'd made the offer and the ball was in his court, that she had bigger problems than one contractor who'd turned her down, except she kept thinking about him anyway. She'd catch herself staring at her phone during meetings, wondering if he'd text. She'd see fathers with their kids on the street and think about Emma, about heart surgery that cost more than most people made in years. At night, alone in her penthouse with its museum-quality silence, she'd remember the way Noah had looked at her, really looked, past the designer clothes and the CEO title to the exhausted person underneath. Nobody looked at her that way anymore. On day 8, her curiosity won. Vanessa told herself she was just doing due diligence. That's what executives did. They researched people before bringing them on. Completely normal, completely professional. She started with the basics. Noah Bennett, age 32, last known employer TechVantage Solutions. She pulled up their website, read the corporate double talk about innovation and integrity, then dug deeper into their patent filings from 5 years ago. There, 3 patents for revolutionary server integration protocols. Filed under TechVantage's name, but the preliminary design docs, the ones buried in legal archives that most people would never find, showed a different signature. N. Bennett. Noah Bennett. His work, his designs, his innovation. Stolen. Vanessa had seen this play out before. Young engineer creates something brilliant, signs it over to the company as part of their employment contract, gets pushed out when they become inconvenient. Legal, technically. Ethical? Not even close. She kept digging, found the lawsuit Noah had filed, watched it get buried under an avalanche of corporate lawyers and procedural delays until he'd run out of money to keep fighting. Found his wife's divorce filing 6 months later, citing financial instability and emotional unavailability. Translation. She'd left him when he stopped being successful. Found Emma's medical records, not the details. Those were sealed, but enough to know. Congenital heart defect. Multiple surgeries already. One more needed. Estimated cost $200,000. Insurance covering less than half. Vanessa sat back in her chair, staring at the information glowing on her screen. Noah Bennett had been brilliant. Had created technology that was probably running on half the servers in Manhattan right now, making other people rich. And for his trouble, he'd been robbed, divorced, and left scrambling to save his daughter's life with 3 minimum wage jobs. The world was so spectacularly unfair, it made her physically sick. Her intercom buzzed. "Ms. Whitmore, the board meeting starts in 10 minutes. Right." The board meeting where they'd question every decision she'd made since her father died. Where they'd smile with too many teeth and suggest maybe she needed more support, more oversight, maybe a co-CEO to help shoulder the burden. Translation. Maybe she should step aside and let someone else run things. Vanessa closed her laptop, smoothed her suit, put on the armor she wore to these things, the cold expression, the clipped tone, the absolute certainty that made men twice her age back down. She walked into that boardroom and she destroyed them. Every question, she had an answer. Every concern, she had data. When Gerald Hutchins, 65, 3 divorces, hands that lingered too long on her shoulder, Suggested perhaps the company needed steadier leadership during this transition. Vanessa smiled like a knife. The transition is over, Gerald. Q3 profits are up 18%. We've landed 2 major contracts this month. Client retention is at an all-time high, so unless you have specific concerns about my performance beyond the general anxiety that a woman under 40 is running things, I suggest we move on. Silence. Gerald's face turned an interesting shade of purple. The rest of the board suddenly found their notes fascinating. Vanessa continued through the agenda like nothing had happened, because nothing had happened. Just another day of proving she had every right to sit at the head of this table. The meeting ended. People filed out quickly, avoiding eye contact. Vanessa gathered her materials slowly, waiting until the room emptied. Then she pressed her palms flat against the polished mahogany table and breathed. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. I thought about your offer. Can we talk? Vanessa's heart kicked against her ribs. She typed back immediately. Yes. When? I get off work at 6. Coffee? She should have suggested her office, should have kept this professional, formal, on her territory. Instead, she found herself typing, there's a diner on 8th and 42nd, Garcia's. 6:30? See you there. Vanessa looked at her calendar. She had calls scheduled until 7, a dinner meeting at 8, reports to review before midnight. She cleared all of it with 3 quick emails and her assistant's startled confirmation. Then she went home to change, because showing up to a diner in a $3,000 suit felt obscene. Garcia's was the kind of place Vanessa never went to. Cracked vinyl booths, fluorescent lights that flickered, a menu laminated so many times it was practically bulletproof. The coffee was terrible, and the pie was legendary, and everything cost less than her daily Starbucks habit. Noah was already there when she arrived, sitting in a corner booth with a water glass in front of him. He stood when he saw her, that automatic politeness that seemed wired into him. You changed, he said. Vanessa looked down at her jeans and sweater. Seemed appropriate. You look more like a person, less like a magazine cover. She didn't know if that was a compliment or an insult, decided it was probably honesty. They sat. A waitress appeared, Maria, according to her name tag, and raised an eyebrow at Noah. The usual? Please. And for you, honey? Maria looked at Vanessa with the frank assessment of someone who'd seen everything twice. Coffee? Black? Brave. Our coffee's terrible. I've been warned. Maria left. Vanessa folded her hands on the table, suddenly uncertain. She ran billion-dollar negotiations without breaking a sweat, but sitting across from Noah in a diner booth made her feel like she was 15 again, trying to figure out how human conversation worked. Thanks for meeting me, Noah said. Of course. I'm glad you called. I almost didn't. He turned his water glass in slow circles. I've been thinking about what you said, about the job offer. And I need to understand what you actually want from me. Because in my experience, when something sounds too good to be true, there's usually a catch that'll kick you in the teeth later. Fair. Vanessa appreciated the directness. I want you on my team because you're brilliant, she said. What you did with our server crisis? My people are good, but you're better. You see things they miss. And frankly, I need someone who can think outside the corporate playbook. You have a whole department for that. I have a whole department of people who went to the same schools, learned the same methods, think in the same patterns. You learned different. You had to. She leaned forward. You know what it's like to actually struggle, to have skin in the game that isn't just your career or your ego. That makes you valuable. Noah studied her. You researched me. Not a question. Vanessa didn't insult him by denying it. I did. Found out about TechVantage. About the patents. Yes. Does that change things? Knowing I sued my former employer? That I'm the guy who couldn't let it go, who made a big mess instead of just moving on? It makes me respect you more. Vanessa met his eyes. You fought for what was yours. You lost, but you fought. Most people don't even do that. They just accept getting screwed because fighting seems too hard. I lost everything fighting. You lost everything anyway. At least you went down swinging. Maria returned with coffee that smelled like burnt rubber and a slice of apple pie with 2 forks. She set it between them. You both look like you need pie more than coffee. Eat. She walked away before either of them could argue. Noah pushed the plate toward Vanessa. Fair warning, the pie really is legendary. She took a bite. It was warm and sweet and completely perfect in that way diners somehow managed with fluorescent lights and cracked vinyl. Okay, that's unfair, she said. Right? I bring Emma here sometimes. She gets chocolate cream, makes a complete mess. Something soft crossed his face. She's the only person I know who can get pie in her hair. How is she? Counting down to the surgery, 2 months if we can get the money together in time. Noah's jaw tightened. She's excited. 6 years old and she's excited about open heart surgery because it means she might be able to run without getting tired. Might be able to play with other kids without needing to sit down every 5 minutes. Vanessa's throat went tight. The job offer still stands. The salary would more than cover. I know, that's why I'm here. Noah looked down at his hands. But I need to know this is real. That you're not offering because you feel sorry for me, or because you've got some savior complex, or because you need the good press of helping the struggling single dad. I don't do charity, Noah. It's bad business. Vanessa kept her voice level. If I didn't think you were worth it, I wouldn't have made the offer. I'm practical to the point of being cold. Ask anyone. I did. That surprised her. What? I looked you up too. Read articles, watched interviews. Everyone says the same thing. Brilliant, driven, absolutely ruthless when it comes to business. Your own board is scared of you. You took over your father's company and doubled its value in 5 years. He paused. You're also apparently impossible to work with, emotionally unavailable, and married to your job. Vanessa felt something twist in her chest. All true. That's what I thought. But then I remembered the woman on the plane who looked like she was holding herself together with tape and spite. The woman who called me for help even though it probably killed her to admit she needed it. Noah leaned back. So, which one are you? The ice queen or the person? Both. Neither. Vanessa wrapped her hands around her terrible coffee. I'm good at my job because I don't let feelings get in the way. I make hard calls. I fire people who aren't performing. I kill projects that aren't profitable. And I sleep fine at night because that's what leadership looks like. Sounds lonely. It is. The admission surprised her. But lonely and successful beats warm and bankrupt. Does it? The question sat between them like a stone. Maria swung by to refill Vanessa's coffee without being asked. The diner hummed around them, other conversations, the clatter of dishes, someone's laugh from the kitchen. Normal life. Happening to normal people who probably didn't spend their Tuesday nights debating existential questions over pie. I don't know, Vanessa finally said. I used to think so. Now I'm not sure what I think about anything except that I'm tired and my company is the only thing I know how to do well, and I'd really like to hire you because you're talented and you deserve a break, and maybe I want to believe that doing one decent thing might make me feel less like a monster. Noah blinked. That's the most honest thing I've ever heard a CEO say. Probably why I don't say it often. He almost smiled. If I take this job, if I need guarantees in writing, I've been burned before. I'll have contracts drawn up. Whatever you need to feel secure. And my daughter, I need flexibility. If she has an emergency, if she needs me, I'm leaving. I don't care what meeting's happening or what's on fire. She comes first. Agreed. That's non-negotiable for me too. Vanessa pulled out her phone. What else? Noah listed his terms. Fair salary. Health insurance that would actually cover Emma's surgery. The ability to work remotely when needed. Explicit ownership of any designs he created. He said it all carefully, like someone who'd learned to protect themselves the hard way. Vanessa made notes. None of it was unreasonable. All of it was exactly what someone should ask for. When he finished, she looked up. Anything else? Yeah, why me? Really? You could hire anyone. Someone with credentials, someone who hasn't spent the last 5 years barely surviving. Why take a chance on me? Vanessa thought about lying. About giving him the professional answer, the safe answer. Instead, she told the truth. Because when I was sleeping on that plane, you protected me. You didn't know who I was, didn't know if I was worth protecting. You just did it because it was the right thing to do. She met his eyes. I've been looking for people who operate that way my whole career. Turns out they're really rare. So when I find one, I don't let go. Noah was quiet for a long time. Then, okay. Okay, you'll take the job? Okay, I'll take the job. But Vanessa? He said her name carefully, like testing its weight. If this goes wrong, if you turn out to be another Tech Vantage, I'm gone. I won't fight this time. I'll just take my daughter and disappear. Fair enough? They shook hands across the table. His grip was firm, calloused, real. Vanessa felt something settle in her chest, something that might have been hope if she still believed in that kind of thing. Maria appeared with the check. Vanessa reached for it, but Noah got there first. I've got it, he said. You don't have to. I know. But the pie was my recommendation, my treat. He left cash on the table, exact amount plus a generous tip. They walked out into New York evening, the city doing its rush hour chaos around them. I'll have my assistant send over the contract details tomorrow, Vanessa said. You can start whenever works for you. Next Monday. I need to give notice at my other jobs. Of course. They stood there awkwardly, two people who just made a business arrangement but couldn't quite figure out how to end the conversation like strangers. Vanessa? Noah's voice was quiet. Thank you. For this. For taking a chance. Thank me by being as good as I think you are. I'll try. He walked away, disappearing into the crowd. Vanessa watched him go, then pulled out her phone and called her assistant. Draw up an employment contract for Noah Bennett. I'm sending you the details. I want it done by tomorrow morning, and I want it ironclad. No loopholes, no corporate escape clauses. If we screw him, I want him to be able to sue us into oblivion. Her assistant made a strangled noise. You want us to be vulnerable? I want us to be trustworthy. There's a difference. Get it done. She hung up and started walking. Her penthouse was 40 blocks north, but Vanessa walked anyway, letting the city pour over her, letting herself feel something that wasn't exhaustion or obligation or the constant grinding pressure of being Vanessa Whitmore, CEO, Ice Queen, her father's daughter. For the first time in weeks, she felt like she might have done something right. Noah started the following Monday. Vanessa had set him up in an office near her own, not in the bullpen with the other engineers, but somewhere with a door he could close and windows that actually opened. She'd learned early that creative people worked better when they could breathe. She walked past his office around 9 and found him already there, laptop open, coffee going cold beside him. He was so focused he didn't notice her standing in the doorway. You're here early, she said. Noah looked up, startled. Wanted to get a jump on things. Your systems are more complex than I thought. Most of that complexity is legacy code nobody wants to touch. Feel free to burn it down and start fresh if you need to. Really? Really? I hired you to think differently. Can't do that if you're trapped in our old patterns. She kept walking, but she found herself stopping by his office 3 more times that day. Just checking in, she told herself, making sure he had what he needed. Definitely not finding excuses to talk to the one person in the building who treated her like a human being instead of a walking quarterly report. The 4th time, Noah looked up with something like amusement. You know I'm not going to disappear, right? What? You keep checking on me like I might evaporate. I'm here. I'm staying. Vanessa felt heat creep up her neck. I'm just making sure you have everything you need. I have everything. And Vanessa, you can relax. I'm not going anywhere. She nodded stiffly and left, feeling ridiculous. She was a CEO. She didn't hover. She didn't check on people. She delegated and moved on. Except apparently she did all of those things now. By Wednesday, Noah had already identified 3 major inefficiencies in their system architecture. By Friday, he'd drafted solutions that made Marcus, her CTO who barely praised anyone, actually whistle in appreciation. Where did you find this guy? Marcus asked, standing in Vanessa's office with Noah's proposals. This is brilliant, like genuinely revolutionary. We implement this, and we're looking at 40% faster processing speeds. He's good, Vanessa said neutrally. He's better than good. He's better than me, and I don't say that about anyone. Marcus paused. Also, he's nice. Actually nice. Helped Janet in accounting with her personal laptop yesterday during lunch. Didn't charge her or make a big deal about it. Who does that? Someone who hadn't forgotten what it was like to need help. Someone who hadn't let success make him cruel. Let's implement his recommendations, Vanessa said. Full rollout, priority 1. Already on it. The weeks began to blur together. Noah integrated into the team like he'd always been there, except better. People actually wanted to work with him. He didn't play politics, didn't take credit for others' ideas, didn't climb over people to make himself look good. It was disorienting, watching someone operate with basic human decency in an environment that usually rewarded backstabbing. Vanessa found herself pulling him into more meetings, asking his opinion on things that had nothing to do with IT. His perspective was different, practical, grounded, focused on solutions instead of blame. He'd sit quietly until he had something worth saying, then cut through hours of circular argument with one clear observation. The board started to notice. "Who's the new guy?" Gerald asked after a meeting where Noah had efficiently dismantled a proposed merger that would have been disastrous. "He's sharp." "Noah Bennett, head of systems innovation." "I like him. He doesn't talk to hear himself speak." Gerald's eyes narrowed. "You're building yourself quite the team." Translation: "You're consolidating power, and I don't like it." Vanessa smiled blandly. "Just doing my job." She started working later, staying at the office until Noah finished for the day. She told herself it was about maximizing productivity, about being available if he had questions. She was lying. The truth was, she liked having someone there, liked the quiet companionship of working in adjacent offices, doors open, the occasional question floating between them, liked knowing she wasn't alone in the building except for security guards and cleaning crews, liked him. One Thursday evening, Vanessa walked past his office at 7 and found it empty. Unusual. Noah was usually there until at least 8, making up time so he could leave early on Fridays for Emma. She was about to leave when she heard voices from the server room. Noah's voice, calm and patient, and someone else, younger, frightened. Vanessa followed the sound. Noah was crouched beside one of the junior developers, a kid named Sam, who couldn't have been more than 23. Sam's face was blotchy with tears he was trying to hide. His hands shook as he pointed at code on his screen. "I broke everything," Sam was saying. "I was trying to optimize the database queries, and I broke everything, and Marcus is going to kill me, and—" "Sam!" Noah's voice was quiet but firm. "Look at me. You didn't break everything. You broke one thing, and it's fixable. Take a breath." "But the client presentation is tomorrow." "I know, which is why we're going to fix it right now, together. But first you need to breathe before you pass out." Sam breathed. Noah waited patiently until the kid's hands stopped shaking quite so badly. "Okay, walk me through what you did." They worked through it step by step. Noah never raised his voice, never made Sam feel stupid for the mistake. He just calmly identified the problem, explained why it happened, and showed Sam how to fix it. Vanessa watched from the doorway, invisible. "There," Noah said. "See? Back to normal. Run the test suite to make sure everything's stable." Sam did. Everything came back green. He slumped in his chair, looking like he might cry again from relief. "Thank you," he said. "I thought I was going to get fired." "For making a mistake? Everyone makes mistakes. It's how you handle them that matters." Noah clapped him on the shoulder. "Go home. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's presentation is going to be fine." Sam left, still looking shaky but no longer terrified. Noah started shutting down the terminals, methodical and unhurried. "You can come in," he said without turning around. "I know you're there." Vanessa stepped into the room. "How did you know?" "Your perfume, jasmine, and something else. It's distinctive." She didn't know what to do with the fact that he'd noticed her perfume, that he'd paid enough attention to recognize it. "That was kind," she said. "What you did for Sam." Noah shrugged. Kid was panicking. Panic makes everything worse. "You could have let him fail. Taught him a lesson about being more careful." "What lesson? That mistakes are unforgivable? That asking for help makes you weak?" Noah turned to face her. "I've been where he is. Terrified of screwing up, convinced one mistake would end everything. Someone helped me back then. I'm just passing it forward." "Who helped you?" Something sad crossed his face. "My wife. Before she wasn't my wife anymore. Before she decided I wasn't worth the trouble." He said it without self-pity, just fact. "She was good at that. Seeing when I was drowning and throwing me a rope. I try to do the same when I can." They stood in the quiet server room, surrounded by machines that hummed and blinked and kept the company running. Vanessa thought about all the times she'd let people drown, all the times she'd chosen efficiency over compassion, because compassion was messy and slow. "I would have fired him," she said quietly. "If that had broken the client presentation, I would have fired him to send a message to everyone else." "I know. That doesn't bother you?" "It bothers me that you think you had to become that to survive." Noah looked at her steadily. But I'm not here to judge you, Vanessa. I'm here to do a job. And if doing the job means working for someone you think is cruel, I think you're scared. There's a difference. He headed for the door, then paused. For what it's worth, the fact that you're questioning yourself means you're not as far gone as you think. He left. Vanessa stood alone in the server room, surrounded by blinking lights, and felt something crack open wider in her chest. Friday evening, Noah stopped by her office before leaving. I'm heading out, he said. Emma's got a thing at school. I need to be there by 6. Of course, go. Vanessa barely looked up from her screen. See you Monday. Actually, Noah hesitated. It's a father-daughter art show. They're displaying their projects. Emma's been working on hers for weeks, and she's really excited, and… He stopped, started again. She asked if you could come. Vanessa's hands froze on her keyboard. What? I know it's weird. I told her you're my boss, you're busy, you probably have plans. But she's been asking about the nice lady from the office ever since I mentioned you. Noah looked uncomfortable. I showed her your picture on the company website and she got really excited. Said you look like a princess. I tried to explain that you're a CEO, not a princess, but she's 6. The distinction's lost on her. She wants me to come to her school event. You don't have to, really. I can tell her you had something important. What time? Noah blinked. What? What time should I be there? 6. But Vanessa, you really don't have to… I want to. The words surprised her as much as they seemed to surprise him. I mean, if it's okay, if I'm not intruding… You're not intruding. Emma will be thrilled. He pulled out his phone, typed quickly. I'm texting you the address. It's just a regular elementary school cafeteria thing. Nothing fancy. I don't need fancy. After he left, Vanessa sat staring at her screen without seeing it. When was the last time she'd been to an elementary school? When was the last time anyone had invited her somewhere just because they wanted her there? Not because she was Vanessa Whitmore, CEO. She left work early for the first time in months. Went home, changed into something that wasn't intimidating. Jeans, a simple sweater, flats instead of heels. Looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the person looking back. The school was in Queens, 40 minutes from her penthouse. Vanessa took a car service, watching the city change outside her window. Manhattan's glass towers giving way to neighborhoods with actual trees, actual families, actual life happening on front stoops and corner stores. The elementary school looked exactly like schools looked in movies. Brick building, chain link fence, playground equipment that had seen better decades. Nothing like the private academy Vanessa had attended, with its ivy-covered walls and Olympic-sized pool. She walked into the cafeteria and was immediately overwhelmed. Children everywhere. Parents everywhere. Noise and color and chaos that made her want to retreat to her quiet office where everything was controlled and predictable. Then she heard it. Vanessa! A tiny girl with Noah's gray-green eyes and dark hair and lopsided pigtails was barreling toward her, weaving through the crowd with the single-minded determination of a heat-seeking missile. Emma crashed into Vanessa's legs at full speed, wrapping small arms around her knees. You came! Daddy said you might be too busy, but you came! Emma looked up, gap-toothed and radiating joy. Come see my art! I made a painting and a clay thing, and Daddy helped with the hard parts, but I did most of it myself. Vanessa looked helplessly at Noah, who'd appeared behind his daughter. He mouthed sorry, but he was smiling. Okay, Vanessa said, feeling completely out of her depth. Show me. Emma grabbed her hand, her small palm sticky with what was probably juice or candy or some combination, and dragged her through the crowd to a table covered in children's artwork. This is mine! Emma pointed proudly at a painting that was mostly purple and featured what might have been a house or possibly a dinosaur. It's our apartment. See, that's Daddy's room, and that's my room, and that's the kitchen where we make pancakes. It's beautiful, Vanessa said, and meant it. Not because the painting was technically good, but because it radiated the kind of unselfconscious joy she'd forgotten existed. And this is my clay project. Emma held up a lopsided bowl, glazed in about 17 different colors. I made it for Daddy, for his important things. He doesn't have important things yet, but when he gets some, he'll have somewhere to put them. Noah crouched beside his daughter. It's perfect, Monkey. I love it. You have to put it somewhere everyone can see. I'll put it right on my desk at work. How about that? Emma squealed and launched herself at him. Noah caught her easily, lifting her up, and Vanessa saw the absolute love on his face. The way he held her like she was the most precious thing in the world. The way he listened to her chatter about her art projects and her friends, and something about hamsters that Vanessa couldn't quite follow. This was what love looked like. Not the abstract concept she'd understood intellectually, not the strategy she'd seen her father employ with business partners. Real love. Messy and loud and completely overwhelming. Vanessa felt something in her chest crack wider. They spent 2 hours at the school. Emma introduced Vanessa to everyone. Her teacher, her friends, the hamster in the classroom that apparently had a very dramatic social life. She explained every single art project in exhaustive detail, and Vanessa found herself actually listening, actually caring about the story behind the purple painting and the lopsided bowl. When the event ended, parents began gathering their children. Emma wrapped herself around Vanessa's leg again. "Will you come to my next show?" she asked. "I'm going to make even better art." "Emma," Noah's voice held gentle warning. "Vanessa's very busy. She might not be able to." "I'll try," Vanessa heard herself say. "If I can, I'll be there." Emma beamed. "Daddy, can Vanessa come for pancakes? You said you'd make pancakes tomorrow." Noah looked mortified. "Emma, we can't just invite people to—" "I'd love to," Vanessa said. They both stared at her. "I mean, if that's okay," Vanessa added quickly. "I don't want to intrude on your weekend." Noah's expression was unreadable. "You're sure?" "I'm sure," Emma cheered. Noah gave Vanessa his address, still looking like he couldn't quite believe this was happening. They said goodbye at the school entrance, Emma waving enthusiastically until Vanessa's car pulled away. On the drive back to Manhattan, Vanessa sat in leather seat silence and wondered what the hell she was doing. CEOs didn't go to employees' apartments for weekend pancakes. They maintained professional boundaries. They kept their distance. But as the city lights blurred past her window, Vanessa realized she didn't want distance. Not from this. Not from the warmth of Emma's sticky hand in hers, or the way Noah looked at his daughter like she hung the moon. Not from the feeling that maybe, just maybe, there was more to life than quarterly reports and board meetings. Her phone buzzed with emails. 43 new messages, all marked urgent. For the first time in her career, Vanessa ignored them all. Saturday morning, Vanessa stood outside a walk-up building in Queens holding a bag of groceries she'd panic bought at a corner store. Expensive maple syrup because that seemed like something you brought to pancakes. Fresh strawberries because Emma seemed like a kid who'd like strawberries. Coffee beans because Noah's grocery budget probably didn't stretch to the good stuff. She felt ridiculous. She'd negotiated with Fortune 500 executives without breaking a sweat, but showing up at Noah Bennett's apartment with groceries made her hands shake. The building was old but clean. Someone had planted flowers in window boxes. Kids' bikes were chained to the railing. This was the kind of place where neighbors knew each other's names, where people looked out for each other because that's what you did. Vanessa pressed the buzzer for 3B. "Hello?" Emma's voice crackled through the speaker, high and excited. "It's Vanessa." "Daddy, she's here! Vanessa's here!" The door buzzed. Vanessa climbed 3 flights of stairs that smelled like someone's cooking and old carpet. The door to 3B was already open, Emma bouncing in the doorway wearing pajamas covered in cartoon stars. "You came early. Daddy's making the batter and I get to crack the eggs, but I'm not allowed to touch the stove because that's a grown-up job." Emma grabbed Vanessa's free hand. "Come in. You can sit at the good chair." The apartment was tiny. Everything Vanessa's penthouse wasn't. The living room and kitchen were basically one space, separated by a counter with 2 mismatched stools. Drawings covered the refrigerator, held up by magnets shaped like letters. The couch looked like it had been bought secondhand and loved hard. Bookshelves made from milk crates sagged under the weight of Emma's picture books and Noah's technical manuals. And everywhere, there were signs of life actually being lived. A blanket fort in the corner, crayons scattered across the coffee table. Noah's laptop on the kitchen counter next to a half-finished mug of coffee. Emma's backpack spilling papers by the door. It should have felt cramped, chaotic, wrong. Instead, it felt warm. Noah emerged from the kitchen area wearing jeans and a t-shirt that had seen better days, flour dusting his forearms. "You brought groceries. You didn't have to do that." "I wanted to contribute." Vanessa set the bag on the counter, suddenly self-conscious. I wasn't sure what you needed. Noah peered into the bag. His eyebrows rose. This is $30 maple syrup. Is that bad? It's Canadian and organic and probably amazing. He pulled out the coffee beans. And this is the stuff I can't afford but dream about. Something soft crossed his face. Thank you. Really. Emma was already investigating the strawberries, eyes wide. Can we put these on the pancakes? Please, please, please? We can put them on yours, Noah said, but you still have to eat real breakfast after. Fruit on pancakes doesn't count as healthy. But strawberries are fruit. Nice try, monkey. He ruffled her hair. Go wash your hands. We're ready to cook. Emma scampered off. Noah started measuring flour, moving with the easy competence of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. Can I help? Vanessa asked. You know how to make pancakes. No, but I can follow instructions. Noah smiled. Actually smiled, the kind that reached his eyes. Okay, you're on strawberry duty. Wash them, cut them into slices, knives in the drawer by the sink. Vanessa found herself standing at Noah's sink, cutting strawberries in an apartment that probably cost less per month than her weekly dry cleaning bill. She should have felt out of place, should have felt like she was playing house, pretending to be someone she wasn't. Instead, she felt calm. Emma returned, hands dripping wet, and climbed onto a stool to watch Noah measure ingredients. Vanessa, do you have a kitchen? I do. Do you make pancakes? I don't cook much. I usually order food. Emma's eyes went wide. Every day? Most days. That must cost $1 million. Noah coughed, clearly suppressing a laugh. Emma. What? It's true. Daddy says ordering food is expensive and we only do it on special days. Vanessa felt something twist in her chest. She spent more on a single restaurant meal than Noah probably spent on groceries for a week. The math of inequality had always been abstract before. Numbers on a spreadsheet, statistics and reports about income disparity. This was real. I'm not very good at cooking, Vanessa said. Your dad's much better at it than I am. Daddy's the best at cooking. He makes mac and cheese from the box, and it's not lumpy. Emma said this like it was the highest culinary achievement imaginable. Noah was mixing batter, careful to show Emma each step. Okay, monkey, time to crack eggs. Remember what we practiced? Emma took an egg with the solemnity of someone handling something precious. She cracked it against the bowl's edge. Too hard, shell fragments everywhere. Her face crumpled. It's okay, Noah said immediately. We'll fish out the shells. Everyone breaks eggs messy sometimes. But I wanted to do it perfect for Vanessa. Perfect's boring, Vanessa heard herself say. My dad used to say that mistakes are just expensive lessons. The shell in the eggs means you'll remember to tap softer next time. Emma looked up at her with those serious gray-green eyes. Did your dad make pancakes with you? No, he was usually at work. That's sad. It was. Vanessa had never let herself think of it that way before, but standing in this tiny kitchen watching Noah teach his daughter to crack eggs, yeah, it was sad. It is sad, she agreed. I wish he had. Noah caught her eye over Emma's head. Something passed between them. Understanding, maybe. Recognition of wounds that didn't show. They cooked. Noah handled the griddle, flipping pancakes with the flick of his wrist that came from practice. Emma helped pour batter, getting it everywhere except perfectly centered on the heat. Vanessa arranged strawberries on plates, feeling useful in a way that had nothing to do with quarterly earnings. When they finally sat down to eat, Noah and Emma at the small table, Vanessa on the good chair, which was just the one without a wobbly leg, Emma announced they had to say what they were thankful for. It's not Thanksgiving, Noah said. We can be thankful anyway. I'm thankful for pancakes and strawberries and Vanessa coming to visit. Emma looked at Noah expectantly. Your turn, Daddy. I'm thankful for you, monkey, and for friends who bring fancy maple syrup. Friends. The word settled warm in Vanessa's chest. Vanessa? Emma prompted. Vanessa looked at the mismatched plates, the cheap table, the two people who'd somehow become important to her in the span of weeks. I'm thankful to be here, Emma beamed. Now we can eat. The pancakes were perfect. The $30 maple syrup was, in fact, amazing. Emma got strawberry juice on her face and syrup in her hair and talked nonstop about school and her upcoming surgery and how she was going to run a whole mile after she got better. The doctor said I might be able to do sports, she told Vanessa seriously, like soccer or dancing. Right now I can't because my heart gets too tired, but after the surgery, I'll be like other kids. That's wonderful, Vanessa said, and meant it. Are you scared? Emma asked. Of the surgery? Emma, Noah's voice held warning. It's okay. Vanessa looked at the little girl who asked hard questions without flinching. Are you scared? Emma thought about it. A little, but Daddy says being brave means doing scary things anyway, so I'm going to be brave. You're already the bravest person I know. After breakfast, Noah started clearing dishes. Vanessa stood to help, but Emma grabbed her hand. Can you play with me? I want to show you my room. Let Vanessa relax, Em. She's a guest. I'd like to see your room, Vanessa said. Emma's room was the size of Vanessa's walk-in closet. A twin bed pushed against one wall, covered in a quilt that looked handmade. Drawings taped to every surface. A bookshelf overflowing with library books. Stuffed animals arranged with the careful logic of a 6-year-old's social hierarchy. This is Mr. Bear. He's the king. And this is Princess Fluff. She's the queen, but also a doctor. Because girls can be anything. Emma narrated her entire stuffed animal kingdom, while Vanessa sat on the floor, nodding seriously at each introduction. Then Emma pulled out a shoebox from under her bed. These are my treasures. Want to see? I'd love to. The box held what treasures looked like when you were 6 and had nothing. A smooth rock from the park. A birthday card from someone named Mrs. Chen. A photograph of Noah and Emma at what looked like a carnival, both grinning, Noah holding an enormous stuffed dinosaur he'd probably won. A bracelet made from yarn and beads. And at the bottom, a drawing. Stick figures holding hands. One tall, one small, one in the middle wearing what was clearly supposed to be a fancy dress. That's us, Emma said. You and me and Daddy. I drew it after you came to my art show. Vanessa's throat closed up. Emma, this is beautiful. You can keep it if you want. I made it for you. I can't take your treasure. It's okay. I can make more. But you don't have anybody to draw you pictures, so you should have one. Emma said this with the absolute certainty of a child who'd identified a problem and solved it. Vanessa took the drawing with hands that shook slightly. Thank you. I'll keep it somewhere safe. They played for another hour. Emma showed her every single one of her books, acted out elaborate scenarios with her stuffed animals, explained the intricacies of first-grade politics. Vanessa found herself laughing more than she had in months, maybe years. When Emma finally started yawning, Noah appeared in the doorway. Time for your medicine, monkey. Emma's face fell. But we're playing. Medicine first. Then you can play more. Can Vanessa stay, please? Noah looked at Vanessa, clearly giving her an out. You don't have to. I can stay, Vanessa said. If that's okay. The afternoon dissolved into something Vanessa had never experienced. Just existing with people. No agenda, no schedule, no purpose beyond being present. She sat on the couch while Emma curled up next to her, watching a movie about talking animals. Noah worked at the kitchen counter, occasionally looking over with an expression Vanessa couldn't quite read. Comfortable. This felt comfortable. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Vanessa ignored it. It buzzed again and again. Finally, she pulled it out. Board emergency. Call immediately. Hutchins demanding meeting Monday, 6 a.m. PR crisis. Client threatening to pull contract. The real world crashing back in. Vanessa stared at her screen, watching her pulse of emails multiply. You need to go, Noah said quietly. He'd moved to sit in the chair across from her, laptop closed. I should probably. It's okay. Work doesn't stop just because it's Saturday. Emma had fallen asleep against Vanessa's shoulder, small and warm and trusting. Vanessa looked down at her, then at Noah, then at the apartment that held more life than her entire penthouse. I don't want to go, she admitted. Noah's expression shifted. Then don't. I have a board meeting Monday. If I don't deal with this now, Vanessa. He leaned forward. The work will always be there. It'll always be urgent, always be critical. But this? He gestured at Emma sleeping peacefully. This is happening right now. And once you leave, you can't get it back. She looked at her phone again, thought about Gerald Hutchins and his power plays. about the client who was probably just negotiating for better terms, about the endless cycle of crisis that would continue whether she spent her Saturday handling it or not. Vanessa turned her phone off, completely off. Noah's eyebrows rose. Did you just... I just turned off my phone. Vanessa heard the slight hysteria in her own voice. I've never turned off my phone. What if something actually important happens? Then it'll still be important when you turn it back on. Noah smiled. Welcome to how normal people live. This is terrifying. I know. Want some coffee, the fancy kind you brought? They ended up talking for hours. Emma woke up, demanded more playtime, then crashed again in her room for an actual nap. Noah made the fancy coffee and they sat at his kitchen counter while the afternoon light slanted through windows that looked out onto other people's windows. Vanessa told him about her father. Really told him, not the sanitized version she gave in interviews, about how he'd built the company from nothing, how brilliant he'd been, how utterly impossible to please, how she'd spent her entire life chasing his approval and never quite catching it. He told me once that I was too soft, she said, staring into her coffee. I was 22, just finished my MBA. I'd recommended we give our manufacturing staff better benefits. He said I was thinking with my heart instead of my head, and that would get me killed in business. Did you listen? I learned to stop thinking with my heart at all. Vanessa looked up. Worked pretty well, actually, until it didn't. Noah was quiet for a moment. My daughter asked me once why her mom left. She was 4, barely old enough to understand. I didn't know what to say. How do you explain to a 4-year-old that her mother left because I wasn't successful enough anymore? Because watching me fail was embarrassing? What did you tell her? That sometimes people love each other but can't stay together. That it wasn't her fault. That I loved her enough for 2 parents. He turned his mug in slow circles. I don't know if that was the right answer. I don't know if there is a right answer. You're a good father. I'm trying. Most days I feel like I'm just barely keeping it together. The jobs, the bills, Emma's health. Sometimes I lie awake at night doing math, trying to figure out how to make everything work. And it never quite adds up. Vanessa had spent years around people who projected absolute confidence, who never admitted weakness, never showed cracks. Noah's honesty was radical. The surgery, she said carefully. The insurance is covering part of it, but not enough. We'll manage. Noah, we'll manage. He said it firmly. I appreciate the job. The salary's helping more than you know, but I can't take charity. Not even from you. It wouldn't be charity. It would be... She stopped, searching for words that wouldn't insult his pride. It would be what friends do. Friends don't drop 6 figures on each other's medical bills. Then we're not regular friends. Noah looked at her for a long moment. What are we, Vanessa? It was a fair question. She didn't have an answer. All she knew was that sitting in his kitchen felt more real than anything in her actual life. That Emma's sticky hands and Noah's quiet strength had somehow become the best part of her week. I don't know, she said honestly, but I know I don't want to lose this. Before Noah could respond, Emma appeared in the doorway, hair sticking up from her nap. Is Vanessa still here? Still here, Vanessa confirmed. Good. Can we have dinner? I'm starving, and also can we make pasta because pasta is the best food? Noah glanced at the clock. It's only 4. But I'm starving now. You're always starving. He stood anyway, ruffling her hair as he passed. Early dinner it is. Vanessa, you're staying, right? It wasn't really a question. Vanessa found herself nodding. They made pasta together. Well, Noah made pasta while Vanessa and Emma set the table and argued about whether noodles were better than rice. Emma maintained that noodles were superior in every way. Vanessa played devil's advocate, defending rice's honor, making Emma giggle with increasingly ridiculous arguments. But can rice be shaped like bow ties? Emma demanded. No, but rice doesn't get stuck in your teeth. Bow ties are fancy. Rice is just boring. Noah plated the food, listening to their debate with visible amusement. You two are ridiculous. Vanessa started it, Emma said loyally. I absolutely did, Vanessa agreed. Dinner was simple. Pasta with marinara from a jar, salad from a bag, garlic bread from the freezer. Nothing fancy, nothing that would impress anyone. It was perfect. After dinner, Emma wanted to watch another movie. They ended up on the couch again, Emma between Vanessa and Noah. providing running commentary on everything happening on screen. When she started falling asleep for the second time, Noah lifted her carefully. Bedtime, monkey. For real this time. But Vanessa, we'll be here when you wake up tomorrow, Noah said, then looked at Vanessa with a question in his eyes. Vanessa nodded. I'll be here. Emma allowed herself to be carried off for the bedtime routine. Vanessa could hear Noah's voice through the thin walls, reading a story about a dragon and a knight who became friends. Emma's questions interrupting every few sentences. Noah's patient answers. This was his life. Every night, the same routine, the same bedtime stories and medicine doses and tucking in, the same fierce love that never wavered. Vanessa thought about her own penthouse, the silence that greeted her every evening, the expensive furniture she barely used, the bed she slept in alone, waking up to nothing but her alarm and another day of meetings. When had she started existing instead of living? Noah emerged 20 minutes later, looking tired but content. She wants you to say goodnight. Oh, okay. Emma's room was dark, except for a nightlight shaped like a star. She was already tucked in. Mr. Bear clutched to her chest, eyes drooping. Good night, Emma, Vanessa said softly. You're really coming back tomorrow? If you want me to. I want you to. You're nice and you play good, and you don't treat me like I'm a baby. Emma yawned hugely. Also, you're pretty like a princess. Vanessa's throat tightened. You're pretty like a princess, too. I know. Daddy tells me all the time. Another yawn. Vanessa, will you be my friend? Like a real friend, not just Daddy's friend? I'd like that very much. Good. Love you. Emma said it sleepily, casually, like it was the easiest thing in the world. Vanessa stood frozen. She couldn't remember the last time someone had said that to her. Her father certainly hadn't. Her mother said it during phone calls, but it always sounded performative, like something you were supposed to say. Emma meant it. Love you too, Vanessa whispered. She left the room quietly, closing the door with care. Found Noah in the kitchen, doing dishes. She's asleep, Vanessa said unnecessarily. She usually crashes hard after big days. Today was big. Noah dried a plate, set it in the cabinet. She really likes you. The feeling's mutual. I can tell. He turned to face her. Vanessa, about tomorrow. You don't actually have to come back. I know you probably have a million things to do. Emma will understand. Do you want me to come back? Noah's hand stilled. Yeah, I do. The admission hung between them, heavy with implications neither of them seemed ready to examine. Then I'll be here. Vanessa checked the time. Almost 9. She should go. Should head back to Manhattan, turn on her phone, deal with whatever fires had burned while she'd been playing house in Queens. She didn't move. You could stay, Noah said quietly. On the couch, if you want. It's late, and you've been here all day, and... He stopped. Sorry, that's weird. Forget I said anything. It's not weird. Vanessa surprised herself. But I should probably go. I need clean clothes for tomorrow. Right. Of course. They stood there awkwardly, neither moving. Finally, Noah walked her to the door. Thank you, Vanessa said. For today. For letting me be part of this. Thank you for wanting to be part of it. Noah leaned against the door frame. Most people wouldn't. They'd think it was beneath them, or boring, or not worth their time. Most people are idiots, he smiled. Yeah, they really are. Vanessa made it halfway down the stairs before she stopped, turned around, and climbed back up. Noah was still standing in the doorway like he'd known she'd come back. I'm falling for you, she said. For both of you. For this. And it's terrifying because I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to be the person who deserves to be here. But I want to learn. Noah closed the distance between them in 2 steps. Vanessa, you don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know. I'm falling for you too, he said. Have been since you woke up on that plane looking lost and human and nothing like the ice queen everyone talks about. But Vanessa, this is complicated. You're my boss. Your life is completely different from mine. And Emma, if this goes wrong, if you decide this isn't what you want, it'll break her heart. It'll break mine too. Then we need to be careful. We need to be sure. Vanessa nodded. We'll be careful. We'll be sure. Noah reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. The gesture was tender, intimate. Stay tomorrow. Really stay. See what our normal looks like. Then decide if it's something you can actually do. Okay. She left for real this time. Got in the car service that had been waiting for hours, probably costing a fortune. Watched Queens blur into Manhattan, her two worlds separating with each mile. When she got home, she turned on her phone. 86 messages. 3 voicemails. 2 urgent emails from board members. Vanessa skimmed them. The crisis was Gerald being Gerald, manufacturing drama. The client threat was posturing, already resolved by her COO. The emergency was only an emergency because people panicked when she didn't answer immediately. She typed a single message to her assistant. Taking Sunday off, we'll be back Monday morning, handle anything urgent. Then she went to bed and slept better than she had in months. Sunday, Vanessa showed up at Noah's apartment with her laptop, a change of clothes, and no plan beyond being present. Emma answered the door in pajamas, squealing with delight. You came back. Daddy said you would, but I wasn't sure. Come in. We're making waffles now because we had pancakes yesterday, and waffles are different. The day unfolded like the one before, but slower, easier. Vanessa helped with breakfast, played with Emma, sat at the kitchen counter working on her laptop while Noah did laundry, and Emma colored at the coffee table. It was domestic, normal, the kind of Sunday millions of people had every week. For Vanessa, it was revolutionary. She watched Noah fold Emma's tiny clothes with the same care he brought to everything. Watched Emma arrange her crayons in rainbow order, completely absorbed. Watched them move around each other with the practiced choreography of 2 people who'd learned to be a team. What are you thinking? Noah asked, catching her staring. That I've been doing everything wrong. That's dramatic. I'm serious. Look at this. Vanessa gestured at the apartment. You have nothing, no money, no security, no safety net, and you're happier than anyone I know, than I've ever been. I'm not happy all the time, Noah said honestly. I'm stressed constantly, scared about Emma's surgery, worried about money, exhausted from working too much. But you have this. You have her. You have love, real love. Vanessa's voice cracked. I have a penthouse worth millions, and I'd trade it all for one day of what you have. Noah set down the laundry basket, came to sit beside her at the counter. You could have it. You're already part of it. Am I? Emma drew you into her family portrait. That's pretty official in 6-year-old terms. Vanessa laughed, but it came out shaky. I don't know how to be part of a family. I don't know if I'm capable of it. You're here, aren't you? You showed up. That's how it starts. They spent the afternoon at a park near Noah's apartment. Emma ran herself ragged on the playground equipment while Vanessa and Noah sat on a bench watching her play. She's going to crash hard tonight, Noah observed. Good. She'll sleep through dinner. We're making her actually eat vegetables tonight. House rules. Brave man. They sat in comfortable silence while Emma made friends with 3 other kids and organized them into some elaborate game involving the slide and a lot of shrieking. Can I ask you something? Noah said eventually. Always. That night on the plane, when you fell asleep on my shoulder, what were you dreaming about? Vanessa thought back. My father. His funeral. Everyone telling me how sorry they were while simultaneously calculating how much his death benefited them. I kept trying to cry and couldn't, just stood there like a robot, accepting condolences from people who were already planning how to take advantage of the transition. She paused. Why? You looked sad. Even asleep, you looked so sad. I wanted to wake you up, but I didn't know you, and it seemed wrong. Noah turned to look at her. You still look sad sometimes. Like there's this weight you're carrying that you can't put down. I don't know how to put it down. Maybe you don't have to. Maybe you just need help carrying it. Emma ran up then, breathless and grinning. Daddy! Vanessa! There's ice cream. Can we get ice cream? Please, please, please. What about vegetables? Noah asked. Ice cream is basically frozen milk and milk is healthy. That's not how nutrition works, monkey. But it could be. They got ice cream. Emma made a spectacular mess. They walked home through Queen streets as the sun set, Emma between them, sticky hands reaching up to hold both of theirs. People probably thought they were a family. Young parents with their daughter, doing normal Sunday things. Vanessa didn't correct the assumption. Neither did Noah. That night, after Emma was asleep and Vanessa was getting ready to leave, Noah caught her hand. Stay, he said. Really stay. Just asleep. Nothing else. Just, I don't want you driving back to Manhattan alone this late. Vanessa looked at his hand holding hers, at the apartment that had become refuge, at the life she wanted so badly she could taste it. Okay, she whispered, I'll stay. Noah set her up on the couch with blankets and a pillow. They said goodnight awkwardly, both hyper-aware of the implications, the boundaries they were dancing around. Vanessa lay in the dark, listening to the sounds of the building. Someone's TV upstairs, traffic outside, the radiator clanking, all the sounds of life happening around her. She thought about her penthouse, the pristine silence, the temperature-controlled air, the perfect isolation from the messy reality of how other people lived. She didn't miss it at all. Somewhere around midnight, she heard Noah's door open, footsteps in the kitchen, water running. Can't sleep? She asked quietly. Noah jumped. Sorry, didn't mean to wake you. You didn't, I was just thinking. He sat on the coffee table, facing her in the darkness. About what? About how I don't want to go back tomorrow. About how terrified I am of how much I want this. About how I'm going to walk into a board meeting and pretend I'm still the person who left Friday, but I'm not. I'm different now. Is that bad? I don't know. Maybe. That person kept me safe, kept me successful. Kept you lonely, Noah said quietly. Yes, that too. Vanessa sat up, pulling the blanket around her shoulders. If we do this, everything changes. You understand that, right? The board will use it against me. Say I'm distracted, compromised. People will talk. It'll be a mess. Then maybe we don't do this. That's not what I want. What do you want? Vanessa looked at him in the darkness, at this man who'd somehow seen past every wall she'd built, who'd made her want things she'd convinced herself she didn't need. You, she said simply. This. All of it. I want to figure out how to be the person who gets to have this. Noah reached out, took her hand. You already are that person. You just have to let yourself believe it. They sat like that for a long time, hands linked in the darkness, the city humming around them. Eventually, Noah went back to bed. Vanessa lay down again, pulling his blanket close. It smelled like his detergent, like the life he'd built from nothing but determination and love, like home. Monday morning came too fast. Vanessa woke to Emma climbing onto the couch, pressing her face close. Are you awake? Daddy's making oatmeal, and I wanted to wake you up myself because you're my friend, and friends wake each other up. Vanessa pulled Emma into a hug, breathing in her little kid smell of sleep and strawberry shampoo. Good morning, monkey. You stayed all night. I did. Does that mean you're part of our family now? Over Emma's head, Vanessa saw Noah standing in the kitchen doorway, watching them with an expression that made her heart trip. Maybe, Vanessa said carefully. Would that be okay with you? Emma pulled back, serious and considering. Do you promise not to leave like Mommy did? The question landed like a punch. Vanessa looked at Noah, who gave a small nod. Your choice. Your answer. I promise, Vanessa said, that if I'm part of this family, I'll never leave without a really good reason, and I'll always come back. That's good enough. Emma kissed her cheek with sticky lips. Now come have oatmeal. It's healthy and gross, but Daddy says we have to. They ate breakfast together one more time. Then Vanessa changed into her work clothes, transforming back into the CEO who had a board meeting in 2 hours. Emma watched the transformation with fascination. You look different. Do I? Like a boss, but also still like you. Noah walked her to the door while Emma was distracted by cartoons. This weekend, Vanessa said. I know. I'll see you at work tomorrow? I'll be there. Noah hesitated, then leaned in and kissed her forehead. Quick, gentle, careful. Be careful today. Gerald Hutchins is a snake. I know. I'm pretty good at handling snakes. I know you are. But still, be careful. Vanessa left before she could do something stupid like kiss him properly or quit her job or suggest they all run away together. The drive back to Manhattan felt longer than it should have. Vanessa watched her reflection in the car window. Expensive suit, careful makeup, the armor firmly back in place. But underneath, she was different. She'd spent a weekend playing on living room floors and eating ice cream and sleeping on a lumpy couch. She'd been part of something real, something that mattered beyond stock prices and market share. and now she had to walk back into her other world and pretend none of it had changed her. Except Gerald Hutchins was about to learn exactly how much everything had changed, because Vanessa Whitmore was done apologizing for being human. The boardroom felt different that Monday morning. Or maybe Vanessa was different. Either way, she walked in at 5:58 a.m. and felt Gerald Hutchins' eyes tracking her like a predator who'd scented blood. "Vanessa, so good of you to join us." Gerald's smile was all teeth. "We were concerned when you went dark all weekend." "I was unavailable. I'm entitled to weekends." Vanessa set her materials on the table with deliberate calm. "Shall we begin? Actually, we have some concerns to address first." Gerald leaned back, fingers steepled. Around the table, other board members shifted uncomfortably. "About your recent hiring decisions." Here it was. Vanessa had known this was coming the moment she'd offered Noah the job. "Which decisions specifically?" "Noah Bennett. You brought him on board without consulting the hiring committee, without proper vetting, and you've given him remarkable access to our core systems for someone with his," Gerald paused delicately, "background. His background includes designing the server protocols half this industry runs on. His qualifications are impeccable. His qualifications include suing his former employer and losing spectacularly. It includes a messy divorce. It includes working delivery jobs, Vanessa. Is that really the caliber we're bringing into executive-level positions?" Vanessa felt her temper rising but kept her voice level. "He's not in an executive position. He's head of systems innovation, reporting directly to me. And his performance in the 3 weeks he's been here has been outstanding." "Has it?" Gerald pulled out a folder. "Because I've been hearing some interesting things about you spending significant time in his office, about visits outside of work hours, about, and this is just rumor, you understand, a personal relationship developing." The room went silent. Vanessa looked at Gerald, then at the other board members. Some looked uncomfortable, some looked eager. All of them were waiting to see how she'd respond. "My personal life," she said carefully, "is none of this board's business. My professional decisions are. If you have concerns about Noah's work performance, present them. If you're just fishing for gossip, we're done here. I'm concerned about your judgment." Gerald's voice sharpened. "Your father built this company on the principle that personal feelings have no place in business. Yet here you are, hiring someone you met on an airplane, someone you've apparently been spending weekends with. It raises questions about your priorities." "My priorities are this company's success, which has increased 18% under my leadership. For now. But what happens when this relationship goes south? What happens when he has access to everything and suddenly has leverage over you? That's not..." "It's a valid concern, Vanessa." This from Margaret Chen, one of the older board members who'd been her father's ally. "We're not saying you've done anything wrong, but optics matter. Shareholder confidence matters. And right now this looks like a conflict of interest." Vanessa felt the walls closing in. This was the trap. They weren't attacking Noah's qualifications because they couldn't. They were attacking her judgment, her professionalism, the very thing she'd built her entire identity around. "Noah Bennett is an exceptional engineer who has already saved this company significant time and money," Vanessa said. "If you want to fire him because you're uncomfortable with my personal choices, that's your prerogative. But it would be a mistake." "No one's talking about firing anyone." Gerald's smile widened. "We're simply suggesting that perhaps you need support. A co-CEO, perhaps. Someone to help shoulder the burden. Make sure personal matters don't cloud professional judgment." There it was. The real play. They wanted to sideline her, install someone they could control. "I don't need a co-CEO. This company runs fine." "Does it? Because from where I'm sitting, you're showing signs of instability, taking weekends completely offline, making unilateral hiring decisions, developing inappropriate relationships with subordinates." Gerald leaned forward. "Your father would be disappointed." The comment hit like he'd meant it to. Vanessa felt something crack in her chest, but she kept her face neutral. "This meeting is over," she said. "When you have legitimate business concerns instead of personal attacks, we can reconvene." She walked out before anyone could respond, before they could see her hands shaking. Her office felt like a cage. Vanessa stood at the window, looking out at Manhattan stretched below her, and tried to breathe through the rising panic. They were going to use Noah against her, going to use her feelings against her. Everything she'd been afraid of was happening. Her phone buzzed, a text from Noah. How did it go? Vanessa stared at the message. She could lie, could say it was fine, could protect him from the mess her life was becoming. Instead, she typed, "Can you come to my office?" He arrived 3 minutes later, closing the door behind him, took one look at her face and said, "What happened?" "Gerald knows about us, about the weekends. He's using it to undermine my position." Noah's expression darkened. "How does he know?" "Does it matter? He knows. And he's spinning it as me having compromised judgment, making emotional decisions instead of professional ones." Vanessa pressed her palms against the window glass. "He suggested they need to install a co-CEO to keep me in check. That's bullshit. It's politics. And he's right about one thing. This does look bad. CEO hiring someone she's involved with, giving them high-level access. It's exactly the kind of thing that gets people fired." "So what do we do?" Vanessa turned to face him. "I think you should step back. From the company. From this. Before it destroys both of us." Noah went very still. "You're breaking up with me to protect your job. I'm protecting both of us. If you leave now before this gets worse, you can find work somewhere else. Somewhere that won't be tainted by association with me. I don't want somewhere else." "Noah, no." He closed the distance between them. "Listen to me. I've had people betray me before. My wife left when things got hard. My employer stole my work. I know what it looks like when someone gives up on me." His voice softened. "Is that what you're doing? Giving up?" "I'm being practical. You're being scared. There's a difference." Vanessa felt tears threatening and fought them down. "What do you want me to do? Let them tear apart everything I built? Let them use you to destroy my credibility? I want you to fight. I want you to tell them to go to hell and prove them wrong by being exactly who you are. Brilliant, capable, and human enough to care about something beyond quarterly profits. That's not how this works. Then maybe it should work differently." Noah took her hands. "Vanessa, these people don't care about you. They care about control. They're using me as an excuse, but if it wasn't me, it'd be something else. You know that." She did know that. Had known it for weeks, watching Gerald maneuver and scheme. "I can't lose this company," she whispered. "It's all I have." "That's not true. You have me. You have Emma. You have a whole life waiting for you outside these walls if you just let yourself have it." "What if I'm not brave enough?" Noah kissed her forehead, gentle and sure. "You're the bravest person I know. You just forgot for a while." A knock on the door, her assistant's voice, apologetic. "Miss Whitmore, Mr. Hutchins is requesting an emergency board meeting for this afternoon. He says it's critical." Vanessa and Noah broke apart. She called through the door, "Tell him I'll be there." After her assistant left, Vanessa looked at Noah. "He's going to push for a vote, today. Either I accept a co-CEO or face a motion of no confidence. Can he do that? If he has enough votes, he can do whatever he wants." Vanessa pulled up her mental map of the board. Gerald had at least 3 votes for sure. Margaret was wavering. That left 5 seats that could go either way. "I need to make some calls." "What can I do?" "Keep working. Act like nothing's wrong. And Noah, be careful. Gerald's the kind of man who'll go after you directly if he thinks it'll hurt me." "Let him try." Noah left. Vanessa spent the next 4 hours on the phone, calling in favors, making promises, doing the political dance she'd perfected over years of navigating corporate warfare. By the time the emergency meeting rolled around at 3 p.m., she'd shored up enough support to survive. Barely. The boardroom was packed, full board attendance, which almost never happened. Gerald had rallied his troops. "Thank you all for coming on short notice," Gerald began. "I know this is unusual, but I believe we're facing a crisis of leadership that can't wait." "Let's hear it, Gerald." Vanessa kept her voice bored. "What's this crisis?" "You've become compromised, emotionally involved with an employee, making decisions based on personal feelings rather than business sense. This company deserves better." "Better like you?" Vanessa raised an eyebrow. "The man who's been trying to undermine me since my father's funeral? The man who voted against our most profitable acquisitions because they were my ideas?" Gerald's face reddened. "This isn't about personal animosity, isn't it? Because from where I'm sitting, this is about you wanting control. using my personal life as an excuse to install yourself or one of your cronies as co-CEO. Vanessa looked around the table. I'm not naive. I know some of you agree with Gerald. Think I'm too young, too female, too emotional to run this company alone. But look at the numbers. Q3 profits up 18%, client retention at record highs. 2 major contracts landed this quarter alone. The company is thriving. Due to systems and processes your father put in place, Gerald shot back. All you've done is maintain his legacy, and now you're putting it at risk for a relationship with a subordinate. Noah Bennett is an exceptional engineer who you're sleeping with. The room gasped. Gerald had said the quiet part loud, and everyone knew it. Vanessa felt ice settle in her veins. The old ice, the protective layer that had gotten her through every impossible situation. My personal relationships are none of your business, Gerald. Unless you can prove they've negatively impacted my professional performance, which you can't, this is just gossip. It's a conflict of interest. Then let's talk about conflicts of interest. Let's talk about your brother-in-law's consulting firm that we've paid millions to over the years. Let's talk about Margaret's son, who works in our acquisitions department despite being spectacularly unqualified. Let's talk about actual conflicts instead of manufactured outrage over who I spend my weekends with. Margaret looked uncomfortable. Good. Vanessa was done playing nice. I'm calling for a vote, Gerald said. All in favor of installing Richard Morrison as co-CEO to provide stability and oversight? Hands went up. Gerald. His 2 allies. 1 more. 4 votes. All opposed? Vanessa raised her hand, so did 3 others, 4 against. It came down to Margaret and David Reeves, both still undecided. Margaret? Gerald prompted. Margaret looked at Vanessa for a long moment. I think Vanessa's personal life is her own business. But I do have concerns about judgment, about whether she's still capable of making the hard calls this company needs. Then you'll vote yes? Gerald pressed. I'll abstain. I need more time to decide. David? David Reeves had been on the board for 15 years. Quiet, careful, rarely spoke unless he had something important to say. He looked at Vanessa now with shrewd eyes. I'll vote no. Vanessa's earned the right to run this company without interference. If her performance actually declines, we can revisit. But manufacturing crisis because she's dating an employee isn't grounds for removing her authority. Gerald looked like he'd swallowed glass. The vote is tied. We'll have to table this until what? Vanessa stood. Until you can pressure Margaret into voting your way? Until you manufacture actual evidence of wrongdoing? She looked at each board member in turn. I've given everything to this company, everything, and I'm tired of having to prove I deserve to lead it. So here's what's going to happen. Either you trust me to do my job or you fire me. But we're done with this halfway bullshit where you undermine me while pretending to support me. Vanessa, Margaret started. I'm serious. I want to vote. Right now. Full confidence or fire me. Pick one. Gerald's eyes gleamed. All in favor of terminating Vanessa Whitmore as CEO. Nobody raised their hand. Not even Gerald. Because firing her would crater the stock price, would send their biggest clients running, would be a disaster, and they all knew it. All in favor of full confidence in Vanessa Whitmore's leadership? Hands went up slowly. David first, then 3 others. Margaret hesitated, then raised hers too. 6 votes. Majority. Gerald and his allies sat with their hands down, silent and furious. Meeting adjourned. Vanessa gathered her materials. Gerald, if you have legitimate business concerns in the future, bring them through proper channels. Otherwise, stay out of my personal life. She walked out with her head high, made it to her office, closed the door, and collapsed into her chair. She'd won. Barely. But it wasn't over. Gerald would regroup, come at her from a different angle. This was just the first battle in a war that would grind on until one of them destroyed the other. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Vanessa Whitmore? Ms. Whitmore, this is Detective Sarah Kim with the NYPD Cybercrime Division. We need to speak with you about a security breach at your company. Can you come down to the precinct? Vanessa's blood went cold. What kind of breach? I'd rather discuss it in person. It's urgent. An hour later, Vanessa sat in a police interview room while Detective Kim explained that someone had hacked into their server systems and stolen confidential client data, millions of records, contract details, proprietary information. When did this happen? Vanessa asked, her mind racing. We're still determining the timeline, but the access points trace back to an internal account, someone with high-level clearance. Who? Detective Kim pulled out a printout. Noah Bennett. Does that name sound familiar? Vanessa's world tilted. That's impossible. Noah would never… The evidence is clear, Ms. Whitmore. His credentials were used to access these systems, download encrypted files, and transmit them to external servers. We've already executed a search warrant at his residence. You what? Standard procedure in cases of corporate espionage. We need to… Vanessa was already standing. I'm leaving. If you want to question me further, contact my lawyer. She ran through the precinct, out to her car, dialing Noah's number with shaking hands. He didn't answer. She called again. And again. Finally, a text came through. They arrested me. Don't come here. Protect yourself. Vanessa stared at the message, then called her lawyer, her head of security, Marcus from IT, started issuing orders, demanding answers, trying to make sense of something that made no sense. Noah wouldn't do this, couldn't have done this. But the evidence said otherwise. She made it to the police station where they were holding him, but they wouldn't let her see him. Corporate espionage suspect, they said. No visitors until after arraignment. The media got hold of it by evening. Headlines screaming about the CEO's boyfriend stealing company secrets. Stock prices starting to tumble. Her phone exploding with calls from board members, investors, clients. Gerald called personally. I warned you, I told you he was a risk, but you let your feelings cloud your judgment. And now look where we are. Vanessa hung up on him. She spent the night pacing her penthouse, pulling together every shred of information she could find. Marcus confirmed Noah's credentials had been used, but something felt off about the access patterns. Too obvious, too sloppy for someone as skilled as Noah. It's almost like someone wanted us to trace it back to him, Marcus said over the phone. Someone who knew enough about our systems to make it look convincing but didn't think we'd look deeper. Can you prove that? Give me 12 hours. If this is a frame job, I'll find the evidence. Vanessa worked through the night, called in favors from journalists to kill the worst stories, contacted clients personally to reassure them their data was secure, did damage control on 17 different fronts while her hands shook and her heart screamed that this was her fault. She'd brought Noah into the company. She'd given him access, and whether he'd betrayed her or been framed for it, the result was the same. Everything was falling apart. Around 3 a.m., her phone rang. Emma's babysitter, Mrs. Chen. Miss Whitmore, I'm so sorry to call so late, but Emma's asking for you. She saw the news. Someone's parent showed her something on their phone at school, and she's very upset. I can't calm her down, and I don't know what to tell her. Vanessa was already grabbing her coat. I'm on my way. She made it to Queens in record time. Mrs. Chen opened the door looking exhausted and apologetic. She's in her room, won't come out, won't eat, just keeps crying. Vanessa knocked softly on Emma's door. Emma? It's Vanessa. Can I come in? Silence. Then a small broken voice. Did Daddy do something bad? Vanessa opened the door, found Emma curled up on her bed, face blotchy from crying, clutching Mr. Bear like a lifeline. No, sweetheart. Your daddy didn't do anything bad. The news said he stole things, that he's a criminal. The news is wrong. Vanessa sat on the bed, and Emma immediately crawled into her lap. Sometimes people make mistakes or tell lies. But I know your daddy, and I know he didn't do what they're saying. Then why did the police take him? Because right now it looks like he did something wrong, but looks aren't the same as truth. We're going to prove the truth, okay? Emma pulled back, looking at her with Noah's serious eyes. You promise? I promise. Your daddy's a good man, the best man I know, and I'm going to make sure everyone else knows it too. What if they don't believe you? Then I'll keep trying until they do. Vanessa hugged her close. I'm not giving up on your daddy or on you. Remember what I said? If I'm part of this family, I don't leave. You're really part of our family? If you'll still have me. Emma nodded against her chest, hiccuping slightly. Will Daddy come home? I'm going to do everything I can to make that happen. She stayed with Emma until the little girl fell asleep, exhausted from crying. Then she tucked her in carefully, kissed her forehead, and went back to the living room where Mrs. Chen was waiting. "Thank you for calling me," Vanessa said. "She's a sweet girl, doesn't deserve this." Mrs. Chen's expression was carefully neutral. "Mr. Bennett is a good father. Whatever's happening, I don't believe he's a thief." "Neither do I." Vanessa went back to Manhattan as the sun was rising, went straight to the office where Marcus was waiting with a laptop and a grim expression. "I found something," he said. He showed her the logs, the timestamps, the trail of evidence that proved Noah's credentials had been cloned 3 weeks ago, that someone had created a perfect copy of his access permissions and used them to commit the breach while Noah was provably somewhere else. "Who?" Vanessa demanded. Marcus pulled up more data. The cloning happened from an internal terminal, one with executive-level access. He turned the screen. Gerald Hutchins' office. Vanessa stared at this evidence. Gerald did this? Or someone working for him? The breach was designed to frame Noah and destroy your credibility in one move. They probably figured you'd either defend him and look like you were protecting a criminal, or throw him under the bus and look heartless. Marcus leaned back. "It's actually pretty brilliant, in an evil kind of way. We need to take this to the police. Already contacted Detective Kim. She's on her way. The next 12 hours were a blur. Detective Kim reviewing the evidence. Federal investigators getting involved because interstate data transmission made it a federal crime. Gerald being brought in for questioning. His shock and outrage when they showed him the evidence. His lawyer scrambling. By evening, the truth was starting to come out. Gerald hadn't done the actual hacking. He'd hired someone, a disgruntled former employee with a grudge against both Vanessa and Noah. The plan had been elegant. Frame Noah, force Vanessa to choose between her company and her relationship, destroy them both. It had almost worked. Noah was released around 8 p.m. Vanessa was waiting outside the station when he walked out, looking exhausted and angry and relieved all at once. "Emma?" he asked immediately. "She's fine. Scared, but fine. I stayed with her last night." Noah closed his eyes. "Thank you." "Noah, I'm so sorry. This is my fault. I brought you into the company, gave Gerald the ammunition he needed." "Stop," Noah cut her off. "This isn't your fault. This is Gerald being a vindictive bastard. You didn't do this. You solved it. I should have protected you better. You can't protect everyone from everything." He looked at her carefully. "Are you okay?" Vanessa laughed, but it came out shaky. "Am I okay? You're the one who just spent a day in police custody." "Yeah, but you're the one who had to hold everything together while I was gone. That's harder." They stood on the steps of the police station while the city moved around them. Vanessa thought about the boardroom battle, the media firestorm, the night spent with Emma, the evidence Marcus had found. Thought about how close they'd come to losing everything. "I can't do this," she said quietly. Noah went still. "Can't do what?" "This. The company, the board, the constant fighting. I'm so tired, Noah. I'm tired of proving myself. Tired of playing these games. Tired of watching people I care about get hurt because they're associated with me." "What are you saying?" Vanessa looked up at the building that housed her company's headquarters, the empire her father had built, the throne she'd spent her whole life trying to deserve. "I'm saying I'm going to resign." "Vanessa, I mean it. The board meets tomorrow to deal with Gerald's removal. After that, I'm stepping down as CEO. They can find someone else, someone who actually wants this." "What do you want?" She looked at Noah, at this man who'd been arrested for a crime he didn't commit, who'd spent a day in custody while his daughter cried, who'd been through hell and was still asking what she needed. "I want a life. A real life. With you and Emma. With pancakes on Saturday mornings and sticky hands and drawings on the refrigerator. I want to stop sacrificing everything good for something that's just killing me slowly." "You love that company." "I love what it could have been, what my father wanted it to be." Vanessa shook her head. "But it's just a company. It's not worth losing you over. It's not worth losing myself over." Noah pulled her into his arms right there on the precinct steps. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." They went to pick up Emma together. She launched herself at Noah the moment he walked through Mrs. Chen's door, wrapping around him like a monkey and crying happy tears. "You came back. Vanessa said you would, but I was scared." "I'll always come back, monkey. Always. Noah held her close, meeting Vanessa's eyes over her head. They went home, to Noah's apartment, which Vanessa realized she'd started thinking of as home weeks ago. Made dinner together while Emma chattered about everything that had happened, processing her fear through the safety of her father's presence. After Emma was asleep, Noah and Vanessa sat on the couch in the quiet apartment. "What happens now?" Noah asked. "Tomorrow I make it official. Resign from the board. Recommend Marcus as my replacement. He's brilliant, and he'll actually enjoy the job." Vanessa leaned against him. "Then I figure out who I am when I'm not a CEO. That doesn't scare you?" "It terrifies me, but staying terrifies me more." Noah kissed her temple. "For what it's worth, I think you're making the right choice. Even though I'm giving up $1 billion company to eat boxed mac and cheese in Queens, especially because of that." He pulled back to look at her. "You've been running your whole life, Vanessa, chasing something you thought would make you worthy. Maybe it's time to stop running and see what happens when you stand still." The next morning, Vanessa walked into the emergency board meeting in jeans and a sweater. No armor, no mask, just herself. "I have an announcement," she said before anyone else could speak. "Effective immediately, I'm resigning as CEO. I'll stay on for a 2-week transition, then I'm done." Shock rippled around the table. Margaret spoke first. "Vanessa, you don't have to do this. Gerald's being removed. The crisis is over." "The crisis is never over. There's always going to be another Gerald, another fight, another reason to sacrifice everything for this company." Vanessa looked at each of them. "My father built something incredible, but he built it at the cost of his health, his relationships, his happiness. I'm not doing that anymore." "What will you do?" David asked quietly. "Live. Actually live, instead of just existing between meetings." Vanessa smiled. "I recommend Marcus Chen as my replacement. He's brilliant, he loves this company, and he won't let it destroy him." She walked out before anyone could argue. Left the boardroom, the corner office, the empire that had been her entire identity. And she felt lighter than she had in years. 2 weeks later, on her last official day, Vanessa cleaned out her office. Photos came down. Awards got packed. The expensive art got donated to a museum. Marcus stopped by, looking nervous. "You're really doing this?" "I really am. The company's in good hands." "What if I screw it up?" "Then you'll fix it. That's what leaders do." Vanessa handed him a folder. "Noah's system recommendations. Implement them and you'll increase efficiency by 40% minimum." "You're still helping." Marcus smiled. "Guess you can't quite let go." "I can let go. I just want to make sure it thrives after I'm gone." She walked out of the building for the last time at 5 p.m. on a Friday. No fanfare, no goodbye party, just Vanessa Whitmore, former CEO, carrying a box of personal items and heading toward a future she couldn't predict. Noah was waiting at the curb. "Ready?" he asked. "Ready." They drove to Queens, to the apartment that was officially hers now too. Noah had insisted on adding her to the lease, to the life she'd chosen over power. Emma met them at the door, bouncing with excitement. "Did you really quit? Are you going to live with us for real now?" "For real," Vanessa confirmed. "Good, because we need help making dinner and Daddy burns things." "I burned things once and you never let me forget it," Noah complained, but he was smiling. They made dinner together, the three of them crowded in the tiny kitchen. Emma talked about her day. Noah told bad jokes. Vanessa chopped vegetables and felt something in her chest unclench for the first time in decades. This was what she'd traded an empire for. This warmth, this chaos, this love. And she'd make the same choice 1,000 times over. Life without the company was strange at first. Vanessa woke up that first Monday morning at 6 a.m. out of pure habit, reached for her phone to check emails, and remembered she didn't have emails anymore. No meetings, no board reports, no crisis demanding her immediate attention. Just silence. And Noah sleeping beside her in the bed they'd been sharing for 2 weeks now, his arm draped across her waist like an anchor keeping her from floating away. She lay there listening to him breathe, to the sounds of the building waking up around them. Someone's alarm going off upstairs, traffic starting to build outside, the radiator clanking to life. Normal sounds, normal life. It still felt surreal. "You're awake." Noah's voice was rough with sleep. I can tell by the way you're lying there having an existential crisis. I'm not having a crisis. You're completely rigid. You only do that when you're panicking quietly. He pulled her closer. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. That's the problem. I don't know what to do when nothing's wrong. Noah laughed softly. You could try enjoying it. I don't know how. Then I guess we'll figure it out together. He kissed her shoulder. Starting with coffee, then breakfast. Then maybe we tackle the existential dread after Emma goes to school. Emma burst into the room 30 seconds later, jumping on the bed with the energy of a caffeinated kangaroo. Is today the day? Is it? Daddy said maybe today. Maybe today what? Vanessa asked, though she knew exactly what Emma meant. The surgery was scheduled for Thursday, 3 days away. They'd been counting down for weeks, Emma equal parts excited and terrified, Noah trying to hide his fear behind calm competence. 3 more days, monkey, Noah said. Can you be patient for 3 more days? That's forever. It's 72 hours. We've practiced. You can do this. Emma flopped dramatically across both of them. But I want to run now. I want to play soccer now. I want my heart to be fixed now. Vanessa smoothed Emma's tangled hair. I know, sweetheart, but good things take time, and 3 days is going to pass so fast you won't even notice. Will you both be there? At the hospital? Of course, Noah said immediately. Both of us, Vanessa confirmed. We're not going anywhere. After Emma got ready for school, Vanessa made breakfast while Noah helped with homework that should have been done yesterday. The domestic routine had become familiar over the past 2 weeks, but Vanessa still sometimes stopped mid-action, spatula in hand, and marveled at the strangeness of her new life. 2 months ago, she'd been running a billion-dollar company. Now she was making scrambled eggs in a queen's apartment and helping a 6-year-old practice her spelling words. The eggs were slightly burned. Emma ate them anyway, declaring them pretty good for someone who used to only order food. After they walked Emma to school, another new routine Vanessa had come to treasure, Noah had to leave for work. Marcus had offered him his old position back with a significant raise, but Noah had turned it down. Too complicated, he'd said. Too many memories of being arrested and accused. Instead, he'd taken a job with a smaller tech firm in Brooklyn. Better hours, less stress, enough money to cover bills and start saving for Emma's college fund. You sure you're okay today? He asked Vanessa at the subway entrance. I can call in sick if you need company. I'm fine. I have plans. Plans? I'm meeting your daughter's surgeon, going over the procedure details one more time. Noah's expression shifted. Vanessa, you don't have to. I want to. I want to understand everything that's going to happen. And I promised Emma I'd make sure the doctors knew what they were doing. You promised her that? Last night while you were doing dishes. She asked me to check the doctor's credentials and make sure they were super smart and not the kind that makes mistakes. Vanessa smiled. So I'm going to go be intimidating at medical professionals until I'm satisfied they won't make mistakes. Noah pulled her into a hug right there on the street. Have I mentioned lately that I love you? He'd mentioned it exactly 3 times. Once during a late-night conversation when Emma was asleep. Once while they were grocery shopping and Vanessa had remembered to buy the good peanut butter without being asked. And once this morning while she was still half asleep and might have dreamed it. You might have mentioned it, Vanessa said against his chest. Good, because I do. Love you, in case that wasn't clear. I love you too. Now go to work before you're late. She watched him disappear down the subway steps, then headed to the hospital. Dr. Rebecca Santos was exactly the kind of surgeon Vanessa wanted working on Emma. Mid-40s, confident without arrogance, willing to answer every single one of Vanessa's questions without condescension. They spent 90 minutes going over the procedure, the risks, the recovery timeline. Emma's young and otherwise healthy, Dr. Santos said. That works in her favor. The surgery will take approximately 4 hours. We'll repair the septal defect, reinforce the valve, and ensure proper blood flow. If everything goes as expected, she'll be in recovery for a week, then home with restricted activity for 6 weeks. And if everything doesn't go as expected, then we adapt. But Ms. Whitmore, I've done this procedure hundreds of times. Emma's case is complex but manageable. I'm confident we can give her the quality of life she deserves. Vanessa studied the surgeon's face, looking for doubt or hesitation, found only steady certainty. Okay, she said. Okay, thank you. Walking out of the hospital, Vanessa called Noah. How'd it go? He asked immediately. Dr. Santos is brilliant. She knows exactly what she's doing. Emma's in good hands. She heard Noah's exhale of relief. Thank you for doing that. I know I should have gone myself, but you're terrified, and sometimes it's easier to let someone else handle the scary parts. Vanessa understood that, had lived that way for years. It's okay to be scared, Noah. I keep thinking about everything that could go wrong, about losing her, about... His voice cracked. I can't lose her, Vanessa. She's everything. You're not going to lose her. She's strong, and she has the best surgeon in the city, and she has us. Vanessa stopped walking, standing on a street corner while the city moved around her. We're going to get through this together. Together. I'm still getting used to that word meaning something real. Me too. That afternoon, Vanessa did something she hadn't done in 15 years. She went to an art supply store and bought paints, brushes, canvases, carried them back to the apartment, and set up in the corner of the living room that got the best light. She'd painted once before business school had consumed her life. Had been pretty good at it, actually. Her father had called it a waste of time, a hobby for people who didn't have serious ambitions. But Vanessa didn't have serious ambitions anymore. She just had time and a need to create something that wasn't a quarterly report. She was mixing colors when Emma got home from school, Mrs. Chen dropping her off with a smile and a reminder about Wednesday's field trip permission slip. What are you doing? Emma asked, fascinated by the paint spread across the coffee table. Painting, or trying to. I'm pretty rusty. Can I paint too? Absolutely. They painted together for 2 hours. Emma created something abstract and enthusiastic involving every color at once. Vanessa worked on a landscape that was supposed to be Central Park, but looked more like a fever dream. Neither painting was good. Both painters were completely absorbed. Noah came home to find them covered in paint, the living room transformed into a makeshift studio, dinner completely forgotten. Well, he said, surveying the chaos. This is new. Vanessa's teaching me to paint. Look, I made a rainbow explosion. I can see that. It's very... Noah searched for a word. Colorful. I'm exploring my artistic voice, Emma said seriously, clearly repeating something she'd heard. And what's Vanessa exploring? Vanessa looked at her painting, at the mess she'd made, the imperfect brush strokes, the colors that didn't quite blend right. I'm exploring what it's like to do something just because I want to, not because it's productive or profitable or advances any goal, just because it makes me happy. Noah smiled. And does it? Make you happy? Yeah, it really does. They ordered takeout for dinner because neither of them felt like cooking. Ate it sitting on the floor surrounded by drying paintings. Emma chattered about school and her upcoming surgery and how she was going to run a whole mile as soon as she was healed. A whole mile on your first day back? Noah raised his eyebrows. Maybe a whole 2 miles. Let's start with walking to the end of the block without getting winded, monkey. Then we'll work up to marathons. After Emma went to bed, Vanessa and Noah cleaned up the painting supplies, moved in the comfortable silence of two people who'd learned each other's rhythms. I talked to my mom today, Vanessa said, washing brushes in the kitchen sink. First time in 3 months. How'd that go? She's disappointed I quit the company. Says I'm throwing away everything my father built, that I'm being selfish and irresponsible and choosing a man over my career. Vanessa scrubbed at a particularly stubborn paint stain. She's probably right. Do you think you're being selfish? I think I spent 30 years being selfless in all the wrong ways, sacrificing my happiness for a company that would replace me in a week, for my father's approval that I was never going to get anyway. She set down the brush. So yeah, maybe I'm being selfish now, but I'm also being happy, and I think that counts for something. Noah wrapped his arms around her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. Your mom's wrong. You're not throwing anything away. You're choosing to build something different, something that actually matters. You think this matters? A 6-year-old and a guy who drives for a tech firm and an unemployed former CEO playing house in Queens? I think this matters more than anything else possibly could. Wednesday night, Noah sat Vanessa down at the kitchen table with a serious expression. We need to talk about tomorrow, he said. The surgery. I know. I've been reading everything I can find about pediatric cardiac procedures and not the medical stuff, the money stuff. Noah pulled out a folder. The surgery costs $212,000. Insurance is covering $90,000. I have $60,000 saved. That leaves $62,000 we don't have. Vanessa had known this was coming, had been carefully not pushing, not offering, waiting for Noah to bring it up. I can cover it, she said carefully. I know you can. But Vanessa, that's a lot of money. Even for you. I sold my company stock when I resigned. I'm not billionaire rich anymore, but I'm comfortable. 62,000 won't bankrupt me. That's not the point. Noah ran his hands through his hair. I don't want to be the guy who takes money from his girlfriend. I don't want Emma's surgery to be something you paid for. I want to be able to provide for my daughter myself. This isn't about pride, Noah. This is about Emma's life. I know that, but it still feels wrong. Vanessa reached across the table, took his hands. What if we called it a loan? You can pay me back over time, whatever schedule works. That would take years. So? I'm not going anywhere. She squeezed his hands. Noah, let me do this, not because you need me to, but because I want to. Because Emma matters to me. Because you both matter to me. Please. He looked at her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Okay, but I'm paying you back, every cent. I don't care how long it takes. Deal. They drew up a simple loan agreement on a piece of notebook paper, signed it, filed it in the folder with Emma's medical documents. It should have felt transactional, clinical. Instead, it felt like a promise, like Vanessa was tying herself to this family in a way that couldn't be easily undone. She was okay with that. Thursday morning arrived too fast and too slow. They were at the hospital by 5 a.m., Emma clutching Mr. Bear and trying to be brave while terror leaked through every gap in her composure. What if it hurts? She whispered to Vanessa while Noah was checking them in. It will hurt some, but they'll give you medicine that makes you sleep, and when you wake up, the hard part will be over. What if I don't wake up? Vanessa's heart cracked. You'll wake up, I promise. You can't promise that. That's what Daddy says, that sometimes things happen that nobody can promise. Smart kid. Too smart for her own good sometimes. You're right, Vanessa said. I can't promise nothing will go wrong, but I can promise that Dr. Santos is the best, and your dad and I will be right here waiting for you, and we love you so much it's ridiculous. Emma managed a shaky smile. Ridiculous how? Ridiculous like I used to run a company and now I spend my days painting with a 6-year-old ridiculous. Like your dad looks at you like you hung the moon ridiculous. Like we're a family now ridiculous. We're really a family? Really. They took Emma back at 6:30. Vanessa held it together until Emma disappeared through the surgical doors, then crumbled against Noah in the waiting room. She's going to be fine, Noah said, but his voice shook. She has to be fine. She has to be. The surgery was scheduled for 4 hours. They lasted 90 minutes before both of them started climbing the walls. Vanessa paced. Noah stared at his phone without seeing it. They drank terrible coffee and made small talk that died before it started. At the 3-hour mark, a nurse came out with an update. Everything was going well. Dr. Santos was pleased with the progress. Probably another hour and a half. They breathed. At hour 5, Dr. Santos herself emerged, still in surgical scrubs, looking tired but satisfied. She did great, the surgeon said. The repair went smoothly. She's in recovery now. You can see her in about 30 minutes once she's more stable. Noah made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. Vanessa wasn't sure she was breathing. She's okay? Vanessa managed. She's okay. It'll be a long recovery, but the hard part's over. Emma's got a strong heart now, literally. They saw her an hour later. Emma was unconscious, intubated, surrounded by monitors and machines that beeped and hummed. She looked so small in the hospital bed, so fragile. Noah took her hand carefully, mindful of the IV. Hey, monkey. You did it. You were so brave. Vanessa stood on Emma's other side, stroking her hair. We're right here. We're not going anywhere. Emma stayed unconscious for 6 more hours. When she finally opened her eyes, groggy and confused, the first thing she said was, Did it work? It worked perfectly, Noah said, crying openly now. You're going to be able to run and play and do everything you've been dreaming about. Does it hurt? Probably, but they've got medicine for that. Emma looked past Noah to Vanessa. You stayed. Of course I stayed. I told you I wasn't going anywhere. Good. Emma's eyes drifted closed again. Love you both. So much. Recovery was hard. Emma was in the hospital for 8 days, dealing with pain and boredom and the frustration of not being able to move around freely. Vanessa and Noah took shifts staying with her, one of them always present, reading books and playing quiet games and generally being entertainment. On day 5, Emma asked, "When can I go home?" "Few more days," Noah said. "You need to be stronger first. I hate it here. I want my own bed. I want to paint with Vanessa. I want normal." "Soon, monkey. I promise." They brought her home on day 9. The apartment had been transformed. Neighbors had sent food, Mrs. Chen had cleaned, someone had hung a banner that said, "Welcome home, Emma." Emma cried when she saw it. Happy tears, but Noah still panicked. "Does something hurt? Do we need to call the doctor?" "No, everyone's so nice. I didn't know we had so many friends." They did have friends. Vanessa had learned that over the past 2 weeks. The building wasn't just where Noah and Emma lived. It was a community. People who checked on each other, who brought groceries when someone was sick, who celebrated each other's victories and mourned each other's losses. Nothing like Vanessa's old building in Manhattan, where she'd lived for 8 years without learning her neighbors' names. Emma's recovery was slow. 6 weeks of restricted activity, which for a 6-year-old translated to constant frustration at not being able to do things she could now theoretically do but wasn't allowed to yet. "I have a fixed heart, but I can't use it," she complained on week 3. "That's so unfair." "You can use it," Noah corrected. "You just have to let it finish healing first. Patience, Em." "I hate patience." "Join the club," Vanessa muttered, earning a look from Noah that was half amusement, half exasperation. They filled the time with quiet activities. More painting, board games. Emma taught Vanessa to play approximately 700 different games with her stuffed animals, each with elaborate rules that changed without notice. Vanessa had never been happier. On week 4, Noah came home with an odd expression. "What?" Vanessa asked immediately. "I need to show you something, but Emma needs to come too." They piled into Noah's car, a beat-up sedan that Vanessa kept offering to replace and Noah kept refusing, and drove to an address in Brooklyn, pulled up in front of what looked like an empty lot next to a children's hospital. "What are we doing here?" Emma asked. "You'll see." Noah got out. "Come on." The lot wasn't empty. It had been cleared and graded, foundation poured, the skeleton of something beginning to take shape, and in the center a sign. Emma's Place, a playground for healing, opening spring 2027, funded by the Bennett Family Foundation. Vanessa stared at the sign. "Noah, what is this?" "Remember the money you loaned me for Emma's surgery?" He wouldn't look at her. "I didn't use all of it. The insurance ended up covering more than we thought. I had about $40,000 left over." "Okay, I couldn't just keep it. It felt wrong. So I talked to the hospital, and they mentioned they'd been trying to raise funds for a playground. Somewhere families could take their kids during long treatments. Somewhere patients could go when they were recovering and needed fresh air but couldn't leave the hospital campus." Vanessa was starting to understand. "You donated it." "I used it to start a foundation, set up the project. We've already raised another $30,000 from community donations. Construction started last week." Noah finally looked at her. "I wanted kids like Emma to have something beautiful while they're going through something hard. I wanted to build something that actually helps people instead of just making rich people richer." Vanessa couldn't speak. Emma was tugging on her hand, pointing at the construction. "Is this really named after me?" "It really is, monkey. This is your playground." "But I didn't do anything." "You got through something really hard. You were brave. And now other kids going through hard things will have a place to play and feel normal for a while." Noah crouched down to her level. "That's called paying it forward. Taking something good that happened to you and using it to help other people." Emma looked at the construction site with wide eyes. "Can we come back when it's done? Can I play on it?" "We'll come to the opening. You can be the first one down the slide." They stood there watching the construction crew work, building something that would outlast all of them. Something that mattered in a way quarterly reports never could. "I can't believe you did this," Vanessa said quietly. "I had help. You gave me the money. The hospital connected me with contractors. The community's been incredible." Noah took her hand. "But yeah, I did this. And it feels right." That night, after Emma was asleep, Vanessa pulled out her laptop. She'd been avoiding it, avoiding the temptation to check how the company was doing without her. But tonight she had a different purpose. She pulled up the Bennett Family Foundation website that Noah had apparently built in secret. Read through the mission statement, the donation information, the plans for the playground. Then she made a transfer. $100,000. Anonymous donation routed through an account Noah wouldn't be able to trace back to her. She still had money. A lot of money. And if Noah was going to build something that mattered, she was going to help him do it. Her phone buzzed almost immediately. Noah's text. Did you just donate to the foundation? Maybe. Vanessa. It was anonymous. You can't prove anything. I know your donation style. Large round numbers, immediate processing, sent at 11 p.m. because you still keep vampire hours. Fine. Yes. I donated. You gonna lecture me about it? No. I'm gonna say thank you, and that I love you, and that you're ridiculous. You knew I'd donate when you showed me the playground, didn't you? I hoped. I also hoped you'd realize this is what we should both be doing. Building things that matter. Using our skills and resources to actually help people instead of just accumulating more money and power. Vanessa stared at the message, at this man who'd somehow seen exactly who she could be before she'd seen it herself. Are you suggesting we run a nonprofit together? I'm suggesting we figure out what comes next. Together. Maybe that's a nonprofit. Maybe it's something else. But whatever it is, I want to build it with you. That's terrifying and perfect, and I'm in. Good. Now go to sleep. Normal people sleep at night. I'm still working on that whole normal people thing. I know. We'll figure it out together. 6 weeks post-surgery, Dr. Santos cleared Emma for normal activity. The news came on a Tuesday afternoon, and Emma literally screamed with joy. I can run? I can really run? You can really run, Dr. Santos confirmed. Start slow. Listen to your body. But yes, you can run. They went straight to the park. Emma took off across the grass like she'd been released from prison, arms spread wide, laughing with pure joy. She made it about 50 yards before she had to stop, breathing hard but grinning. That was amazing. Did you see how fast I was? I was so fast. You were incredible, Vanessa called. Emma ran again and again. Short bursts of speed followed by breathing breaks, but each run a small victory. Each breath a reminder that her heart worked now, that she could do things she'd only dreamed about. Noah watched with tears streaming down his face. She's running. Vanessa, look at her. She's actually running. I see her. Vanessa slipped her hand into his. She's perfect. That weekend, they took Emma to see the playground. It was nearly finished. Bright equipment, soft rubber surfaces, benches for tired parents, shade structures to protect from sun. Emma's place, carved into a wooden sign at the entrance. Emma stood staring at it, overwhelmed. This is really for kids like me? Kids exactly like you, Noah said. Kids who are fighting hard battles and need somewhere to be kids. Can I try it? It's not quite ready yet, but soon. They walked through the almost finished playground, Emma narrating where everything should go, which slide looked fastest, where the best climbing spots were. The construction foreman came over, recognized Noah. Mr. Bennett, we're ahead of schedule, should be ready for your opening ceremony next month. That's great, thank you. Can I just say, this project, it's special. My daughter had leukemia 3 years ago, spent months in that hospital. A place like this would have meant everything to us. The foreman's voice roughened. What you're doing here, it matters. After he walked away, Emma looked up at Noah. Daddy, can other kids donate too? Kids who aren't sick but want to help? Absolutely. Why? Because I want to tell everyone at school. I want them to know they can help build things for kids who need help, that you don't have to be a grown-up to make things better. Vanessa crouched down to Emma's level. You know what, Emma? You're absolutely right, and I think we should help you organize that. Maybe a fundraiser at your school? Really? Really. We'll talk to your teacher, set something up, get kids involved. Emma threw her arms around both of them. This is the best family ever. We help people and we love each other and we make playgrounds and everything's perfect. Not perfect, Noah said gently, but pretty good. Pretty good is enough. The school fundraiser happened 3 weeks later. Emma gave a presentation about her surgery, about the playground, about how even kids could help make the world better. Spoke with the unself-conscious confidence of someone who'd been through hard things and come out stronger. They raised $8,000. Kids brought piggy banks and allowance money and coins they'd found in couch cushions. Parents matched donations. Teachers contributed. Watching Emma accept the oversized check from her principal, Vanessa felt something slot into place in her chest. This was what mattered. Not empire building, not power accumulation. This, community, connection. Building things that helped people instead of just enriching them. "You're crying," Noah observed, sliding an arm around her waist. "I'm having feelings about my life choices. It's very confusing." "Get used to it. Feelings are kind of our thing now." The playground opened in early November. Crisp fall day, leaves turning gold and red, the kind of weather that made you believe in new beginnings. They'd invited families from the hospital, local media, community members who'd donated. Maybe 100 people showed up, which felt miraculous for something that had started as $40,000 in a dream. Emma cut the ribbon, wearing her best dress and the biggest smile Vanessa had ever seen. Gave a speech she'd written herself about being brave and helping others, and how everyone deserves a place to play. Then she went down the tallest slide first, shrieking with joy the whole way. Other kids followed. Suddenly the playground was full of laughter and running feet and pure childhood chaos. Parents sat on benches looking grateful. Hospital staff took photos. Someone started a pickup game of tag. Noah stood with his arm around Vanessa, watching it all with wonder. "We did this," he said quietly. "You did this. I just threw money at it. You did more than that. You believed in it, believed in me, helped make Emma's presentation better, organized the school fundraiser. This is as much yours as mine." Vanessa looked at the playground, at Emma playing with a little boy in a wheelchair, both of them laughing. At the families finding joy in a space designed for healing. "I spent 10 years building my father's legacy," she said. "This feels better. This feels like building something that actually matters. So what do we do next?" "I don't know, but I think we figure it out together." They stayed until sunset, watched kids play until their parents called them home, helped the hospital staff clean up, locked the gates knowing they'd open again tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. As they walked to this car, Emma between them holding both their hands, Vanessa thought about the woman she'd been 6 months ago. Alone in a penthouse, drowning in work, convinced that success meant sacrificing everything human about herself. That woman seemed like a stranger now. "Can we get pizza for dinner?" Emma asked. "The kind with extra cheese?" "We can absolutely get pizza," Noah confirmed. "And can we paint after? I want to make a picture of the playground to hang in my room." "We can paint. And can we do this every day forever? Just be together and eat pizza and paint and be a family?" Vanessa squeezed her hand. "We can do exactly that." They stopped for pizza at Emma's favorite place in Queens. Ate it sitting in a booth with cracked vinyl, Emma getting sauce on her face, Noah stealing pepperoni from both their plates, Vanessa laughing more than she could remember laughing in years. Her phone buzzed. A message from Marcus. "Company's doing great. Q4 projections look solid. Hope you're doing well too." She typed back quickly. "Doing better than great. Found something worth building. Thanks for checking in." Then she turned off her phone completely and focused on her family. Because that's what they were now. Not perfect, not tidy. Emma still had nightmares sometimes about the surgery. Noah still worried about money. Vanessa still occasionally woke up at 6 a.m. in a panic, convinced she was late for a meeting that didn't exist. But they had each other. They had love. They had a future that looked nothing like Vanessa had planned, but everything like what she'd needed. That night, after Emma was asleep and they'd cleaned up the dinner mess, Vanessa and Noah sat on the fire escape looking at the city lights. "I have a confession," Vanessa said. "Should I be worried? I've been thinking about the foundation, about expanding it, not just the playground, but other projects, scholarships for kids who've been seriously ill, support programs for single parents dealing with medical crises, actually using my business skills for something that helps people instead of just making shareholders rich." Noah was quiet for a moment. "That's a pretty big confession. Is it too much? Too fast? I know we just started the playground and maybe I should slow down. Vanessa?" He turned to face her. "It's perfect. It's exactly what we should do. And I want to do it with you." "Really?" "Really. I've been thinking about the same thing. I'm good with systems and technology. You're good with strategy and organization. Together we could actually build something incredible. It won't be as profitable as running a corporation. I don't care about profitable. I care about meaningful. Vanessa kissed him, long and slow and full of promise. When they broke apart, she was smiling. Okay, let's do it. Let's build something meaningful. Together. Together. They sat there planning late into the night, sketching out ideas on the back of Emma's homework, dreaming about programs and initiatives and all the ways they could help people who were struggling the way Noah had struggled, the way Emma had struggled. It wouldn't be easy. Running a nonprofit was hard work with little recognition and less money. But it would matter. It would help real people facing real problems. And that, Vanessa had learned, was worth more than any corner office or executive title. 6 months later, the Bennett Family Foundation had expanded to 3 programs. The playground was thriving. They'd funded scholarships for 5 kids dealing with serious illness, started a support group for single parents navigating medical crises. Vanessa worked out of the tiny office they'd rented in Brooklyn, doing the kind of work that never ended but actually mattered. Noah split time between his tech job and foundation work, building the systems that kept everything running. Emma was in 2nd grade now, running track and playing soccer and living the life she'd only dreamed about before surgery. She'd become the foundation's unofficial mascot, giving tours of the playground to donors and speaking at fundraisers with the confidence of someone twice her age. One Saturday morning, Vanessa woke up in the bed she now shared with Noah every night, in the apartment that had become home, and realized she was happy. Not the temporary high of closing a big deal or beating quarterly projections. Real happiness. The kind that came from waking up next to someone you loved, hearing a little girl singing in the kitchen, knowing you were building a life that mattered. "You're smiling," Noah observed, still half asleep. "I'm happy." "Yeah? About what specifically?" "All of it. This, us, Emma, the foundation, the fact that I'm 31 years old and finally figured out what actually matters." Noah pulled her closer. "And what's that?" "Love. Connection. Building things that help people instead of just enriching them. Using my skills for good instead of just for profit." She paused. "You, Emma. This ridiculous family we've built. It is pretty ridiculous. The best kind of ridiculous." They lay there in comfortable silence until Emma burst in demanding pancakes and attention and help with her soccer uniform that had somehow gotten paint on it. Normal life. Beautiful, chaotic, imperfect life. Later that day, they went to the playground. Emma's place had become a fixture in the community, always full of kids and families. They'd added benches donated by a local business, planted trees that would provide shade in summer. Vanessa sat watching Emma play, Noah beside her, and thought about the flight where all of this started. The turbulence, the exhaustion, the moment she'd woken up to find a stranger protecting her. If someone had told her then that she'd end up here, in Queens, running a nonprofit, part of a family she'd never expected, she would have thought they were insane. But here she was, and she wouldn't change a single thing. "You know what's wild?" Noah said, clearly following a similar train of thought. 6 months ago, I was working 3 jobs and barely surviving. Now I'm running a foundation with my girlfriend who used to be a CEO, raising my daughter who's healthy and thriving, actually building something that matters. It doesn't feel real sometimes. I know what you mean. I keep expecting to wake up back in my penthouse, alone and miserable, and discover this was all a dream. If it's a dream, I don't want to wake up. Me neither. Emma ran over, breathless and grinning. "Daddy, Vanessa, come play with us. We're playing family tag and we need more people." They let themselves be dragged into the game, running around the playground they'd built, laughing like idiots, completely ridiculous and completely happy. Later, walking home as the sun set, Emma holding both their hands, Vanessa thought about legacy. Her father had built a billion-dollar empire. It would probably survive another 50 years under Marcus's leadership, making shareholders rich and employees comfortable. But what Vanessa was building, this family, this foundation, this life, felt more permanent somehow, more real. Every kid who played on Emma's place, every scholarship recipient who got to pursue their dreams despite illness, every family who found support during impossible times. That was legacy. Not quarterly earnings or market dominance, human connection, Real help. Love that spread outward in ripples. What are you thinking about? Noah asked as they climbed the stairs to their apartment. How wrong I had everything. For so long. You weren't wrong. You were doing what you thought you had to do. Maybe. But I'm glad I figured out I didn't have to do it anymore. That night, after Emma was asleep, Vanessa pulled out the drawing Emma had given her months ago. The stick figures holding hands, Noah, Emma, and her. She'd framed it, hung it in the bedroom where she could see it every morning. Simple crayon on paper, worth more than any corner office or executive title. Noah found her staring at it. You kept that. Of course I kept it. It's my favorite thing. More than the Picasso print you had in your old office? Way more than the Picasso print. Vanessa turned to face him. Noah, I need to tell you something. He looked worried. That sounds ominous. It's not. It's just, I've been thinking. About us, about this family, about making it official. Official how? Vanessa took a breath. She'd rehearsed this a dozen times, and it still felt terrifying. I want to marry you, and I want to adopt Emma. I want to be her mother legally, not just in practice. I want us to be a family for real, with paperwork and everything. Noah went very still. Vanessa, I know it's fast. I know we've only been together 6 months. But when you've spent your whole life doing things because you're supposed to, because it makes strategic sense, because it advances your goals, when you find something that's just right, you know it. And this is right. You're right. Emma's right. All of it. Are you proposing to me? I think I am. Is that okay? Can women do that, or is there some rule I don't know about? Noah laughed. Actual laughter, bright and surprised. Women can absolutely do that. And yes. Yes? Yes, I'll marry you. Yes, Emma will be thrilled. Yes to all of it. He pulled her close. Though I should warn you, marrying me means marrying into a life of burned dinners and chaotic mornings and never quite enough money. I'll take it. All of it. Forever. They told Emma the next morning over breakfast. She dropped her spoon in her cereal, sending milk everywhere. You're getting married? Like princess married? Like regular people married, Vanessa clarified. But yes. And I get to be in the wedding? You get to be our maid of honor, Noah said. Most important job there is. And Vanessa's going to be my mom? For real? If you want me to be. Emma launched herself across the table into Vanessa's arms, nearly knocking over the orange juice. I want you to be my mom. I want it so much. Vanessa held her close, this little girl who'd somehow become the center of her world, and felt tears streaming down her face. Happy tears. The kind she'd thought she'd forgotten how to cry. They got married 3 months later in a small ceremony at the playground. No fancy venue, no designer dress, just family and friends, and the community that had embraced them, celebrating love that had grown from the most unlikely beginning. Emma wore a purple dress, and her best sneakers carried flowers she'd picked herself, and gave a speech about how families weren't just the people you were born to, but the people who chose to love you. There wasn't a dry eye in the place. Vanessa wore a simple white dress from a department store. Noah wore the suit he'd bought for job interviews years ago, slightly too tight now but comfortable in its familiarity. They said their vows standing on the playground they'd built together, promising to love each other through chaos and exhaustion and whatever else life threw at them. I promise to never put work before you, Vanessa said. To remember that quarterly earnings don't matter but breakfast together does. To choose us, always. I promise to let you help, Noah said. To remember that accepting love isn't weakness. To build our future together instead of trying to handle everything alone. They kissed while Emma cheered and their friends applauded, and somewhere in Manhattan, Vanessa's former life continued without her. She didn't miss it, even a little bit. The reception was pizza and cake in the community center, exactly what Emma had requested. Vanessa danced with her new daughter, then with her new husband, then with half the neighborhood kids who decided the dance floor was actually a playground. Her mother had declined to attend, sent a card with a check and a note about disappointment and wasted potential. Vanessa sent back a photo of the wedding, of Emma laughing between her and Noah, of the playground full of kids who would grow up with the support her foundation provided. This is potential realized, she wrote. This is everything that matters. I'm sorry you can't see that, but I hope someday you will. She never got a response. That was okay. Some people couldn't change, couldn't see past their own definition of success. But Vanessa had changed, had learned that success wasn't measured in dollars or titles or corner offices. It was measured in moments like this, dancing with your daughter at your wedding reception while your husband got cake smashed in his face by overenthusiastic 7-year-olds. That night, in their apartment that now officially belonged to both of them, Vanessa Bennett, she'd taken his name, which still felt surreal, looked at her sleeping daughter and her sleeping husband and her life that looked nothing like what she'd planned. It was messy, imperfect, full of challenges she was still learning to navigate. It was also everything she'd ever needed without knowing she needed it. Her phone buzzed. A late-night message from someone at her old company. Just saw your wedding photos on social media. You look happy, really happy. Good for you, Vanessa. She smiled and typed back, I am happy. Happier than I ever was running that company. Hope you're well. Then she turned off her phone, climbed into bed next to Noah, and fell asleep planning tomorrow's foundation meeting. Because that was her life now. Planning how to help people, figuring out how to use her skills for good, building something that mattered with the people she loved. And if that wasn't success, then success was overrated anyway. Years later, when people asked Vanessa about her life story, about how she went from billion-dollar CEO to nonprofit founder, she'd tell them about a flight through a storm, about falling asleep on a stranger's shoulder, about waking up to discover that sometimes the best things in life come from moments of complete vulnerability. She'd tell them about Noah, who taught her that strength wasn't about never needing help, but about accepting it when it was offered. About Emma, who showed her that love didn't have to be earned or deserved, it just was. She'd tell them about the playground, the foundation, the family they'd built from nothing but hope and determination, and the belief that people deserved better than a world that measured worth in profit margins. And she'd tell them the truth that had taken her 30 years to learn, that power and wealth and success meant nothing without someone to share them with, that the things that actually mattered couldn't be bought or built or negotiated. They could only be chosen, nurtured, protected. That sometimes the bravest thing you could do was walk away from everything you thought you wanted and choose the life you actually needed. Emma's place expanded over the years. More playgrounds, more programs, more families helped through impossible situations. The Bennett Family Foundation became a fixture in their community, then their borough, then their city. Vanessa and Noah built it together, bringing their different strengths to the work. Fighting sometimes, because real relationships involved conflict. Making up always, because love meant choosing each other even when it was hard. Emma grew up strong and healthy, running track in high school, volunteering at the foundation, planning to study medicine so she could help kids like she'd been helped. And every year on the anniversary of Emma's surgery, they went to the playground, watched kids play on equipment they'd provided, talked to families finding hope in impossible circumstances, remembered where they'd started, celebrated where they'd ended up. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. Life was too complicated for that. There were bills to pay and problems to solve, and moments when everything felt overwhelming. But it was real. It was theirs. It was built on love and sacrifice and the radical choice to value people over profit, connection over control, family over empire. And that, Vanessa had learned, was worth more than any corner office could ever be. Because at the end of the day, when you stripped away the money and the power and the prestige, what mattered was simple: who you loved, who loved you back, and what you built together that made the world even slightly better than you found it. Everything else was just noise.